Hi,
Oh,
William.
I think we may be live. It says we're live.
We
Okay.
are live.
Well, welcome to our Startup Wednesday show. Hello, I'm Nick Palavita. I'm the, how you say, the reserved person who doesn't know what he's doing. With me, I have some other people that are fellow not knows what they're doing.
Equally ignorant of how to.
We have equally ignorant people here. We're non-discriminatory group. Jim Eade, who's with the Eade Foundation, also runs our show Chess Without Borders. Had a great show yesterday, which you can see on record. If I can find record, I'll record this one. But I don't see where there's a button that says record. Maybe it's on settings. General, no. Okay, no. Okay. So, and also Willie Hill, who runs the startups on Australia, who has about 10,000 people right now down in Australia. So, good day, mate. And how are we doing?
Man.
How are we doing down under right now in Australia?
We're doing great, but we're in lockdown, so not so great.
Oh, lockdown. Okay, so Australia went back to lockdown. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that. Well, we're trying to figure out what to do here. And there's a lot of people that are saying that, hey, the coronavirus isn't that bad. It's just like a regular flu. I don't know if you've seen those things on the internet, Jim.
Well, it was on Rush Limbaugh's show.
Oh, the bastion of intellectual property in the world, Rush Limbaugh. Okay, and he had a show on that this thing isn't that bad deal.
Well, that's David Clay Thompson's book. It's even worse than you think.
Well, that's what David K. Johnson says. And the thing is,
Rush Limbaugh said it's just like the common cold, and there have been others that have come on just saying it's just nothing more than a cold, nothing to worry about. And of course, that has not proven to be true.
Exactly. And the thing is, there are some arguments like that children don't get it as bad as adults. In other words, that argument I've seen there. You're under 18. Hey, go reopen the schools. So who teaches the schools? A 12-year-old?
I don't think so.
Anybody over 18 or 19?
Yeah. And the thing is, it's
a bit more than that.
Right. But see, this is their fallacious arguments. They give what I call half-truths and never give the whole story. A half-truth is, hey, the kids don't get it. It's not so bad. Who cares? And then the rest of the story, let's just ignore that altogether. And that's kind of like the name of the game out there. Hey, I told you we were going to have some guests today, Jim. I didn't lie.
Fine.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get us backup help.
Well, the thing is, the only thing I can't do is the background, but we're going to cover the background so they can't see it anyway. And then the record button, if you can figure out where the record button is on
That's
that.
what I'm asking for.
I would highly appreciate it because in the whole system, people do try to listen to it. Maybe it's better we don't record it. That's live. It's gone. And the stuff we say doesn't get repeated.
Actually, that's not a bad idea when you have me as a guest.
I'm bringing on Michael Newman, who's sitting backstage, who's with the High IQ Society. I decided to invade the psychometric people in the world to see their thinking or whatever it is and bring them on IBMTV. And I was going to actually have a whole show based on it, but getting a host and getting it organized, it's worse than chess players, man. I mean, they're just...
Can't herd cats.
Yeah, it's like herding cats. There's some good people there, but man, getting them to go one direction is like, herding cats. It's next to impossible. I think I'd rather try the startups, but hey, well, Alexander Starr has arrived. We have our star from Toronto, and has arrived. And now we're going to put it into the lion's den. Oh, there he is, Michael Newman.
Hello, Michael.
Michael, hello. How are you doing? I don't know if
I'm wonderful. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can actually hear you. We can see you. What city are you?
Can you not hear me on this?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, this is. This is Fayetteville, Arkansas at the moment, and this is my tertiary backup.
Wow.
All my headphones broke.
Mm.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with having
How's it going?
Technical issues. Oh, it's going good. I'll introduce the panel for today. Over to the left, right, my right, I guess, is Jim Eade. He heads the Eade Foundation. He lives in the Socialist Republic of Silicon Valley. In addition to the Eid Foundation, he's the writer of Chess for Dummies. He's a feeding chess master, so he plays a lot of chess. Other than that, he actually has somewhat of a personality. So he runs our television show, Chess for Dummies. No, Chess Without Borders. So that's Jim. As we go further on, you'll see Willie Hill. Willie Hill runs Startup Australia. He's in Middleburn, mate. And if you always say mate, you're pretty good with him. And out in Melbourne, he's in lockdown, sequester, so startups aren't doing very much. Below us from Toronto, via the great Moscow area or Russia somewhere, is Alexander Starr. He runs our show Chess Stars, also investing, our investing show. It starts today at
Nice.
It's today at 1 o'clock, right? Good. That means I get a break. I like that. Alexander Starr is on. And so, yeah, he runs Chess Stars and also runs the investment show. And Michael Newman, I dragged in from the High IQ Society. So I keep getting questions. Hey, what's all this all about?
Yeah.
We're IBMTV. We're smart television. I just need to find some smart people. So I contact which by the way, discredits all the panelists that sit here, Michael. So the thing is, I reached in the society, of course, you know, like I said, getting them was like,
Oh, right.
chess players. It's kind of an interesting cat, but I do plan on putting together. We have a book show coming, show coming up, a travel show coming up, and so we're adding a lot of programming. Ultimately, I want to do one of those high IQ society shows and see what they have to say. So Michael, what dragged you to Fayetteville, Arkansas? What was the big impetus of being there? Michael, can you hear me?
I'm a master electronic technician. I was a senior building engineer in Memphis and in a failing inner city school, and got tired of fixing things for other people, and I wanted to go back to school and possibly study something else. And my wife had a really great position with FedEx and great schools, wonderful schools up here.
Oh, really? And
They're fantastic.
Excellent.
Okay, that's Fayetteville, Arkansas, because
So-
where I live in North Carolina.
You guys all are into chess.
No, 3 out of 4 are into chess. Willie over in Melbourne, he's into start.
Yes.
So you see Chess Without Borders.
Oh yeah, different
Because of
Fayetteville.
us, our director is not here. He lives in New Delhi, and he's on his anniversary. So we gave him the day off, basically.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with that is we don't know how to change the banner or do the.
He's riding to the rescue, Nick.
Oh, is he, or do the recording?
He's going to go on his mobile phone and help you out.
Oh, really? And press
Yes,
the
the
button.
Calvary is coming. We
Well,
hope.
you know, it's not like in the system. I mean, they got 5,000 things here, and there's no button that says record. I mean, you know.
If you can't figure it out, I can't help you.
Wait, Michael. You said you're an engineer, right?
Yeah, maybe Michael can help us.
Yes. Where's the bloody button on this system? You know.
Well, Nick, can Michael be a cop in Connecticut, or is he?
No, he's too smart.
He's too smart. Okay.
Yeah. Michael, do you know what we're talking about? You can't be a cop in Connecticut. Michael, are you there? It looks like he froze up. Oh, he's frozen. He can't even answer those questions.
Okay, so let's put words in his mouth.
Yeah, words in his mouth. No, I can't. Wait, our savior is about to arrive. It is quite possible we got to track him in because we can't find the record button. I can't believe that. There's, he goes, you got to press this record button. Where is this record button? And I see default brand color, logos, overlays. Gosh, I can't believe this. And they make the system.
I don't think you pay him enough, Nick.
No, we definitely don't. We're gonna have to double or triple his salary.
Is there a Dow Jones button somewhere there?
Yeah, Dow Jones. Yeah,
I do. I have one.
Show
I
us
have,
lady.
let
Okay,
me
if you
tell
check everything out here, comments, banners. Okay.
Dow Jones is up.
Okay, wait. Did he
Wow, almost at 2,700 again. 27,000.
How did he do
Yep.
that? Lord. Okay, so now it's being recorded. Okay, so I'll have to explain to Michael anything you say can and will be against you as a court of law. Well, I had Michael back. Okay, we pressed the recording button, or at least Ankit came in.
And Kel did. Yes, let's not get.
Because I still don't know where it is. See, this is the problem with these
Yeah.
IT guys. They come in, they do their work, they leave, and they don't tell you how to do it. So guess what? I could never
Job
fire.
preservation.
I
Capital preservation.
two full-time IT guys, and sometimes I had a team of 4 or 5 working for me when I was up in Seattle, and I could never fire them because they'd come in, they'd fix everything, they'd leave, and I have no idea how they fixed it. You know, I think they did that on purpose, leaving me in the sea of ignorance, which I swam quite nicely in. So, okay, so Michael, you're in Fayetteville, but you have an engineering background. Is that it? He has a bandwidth issue.
Yeah. And in the meantime, Nick, Ankit wants to know if you need any help, other help.
I do, but not right now.
Let him go have his day off.
The expertise is not part of his job description. You know,
master electronic technician, hands-on experience being a engineer.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It looks like you're having.
Yeah, I'm sitting right next to my router. That's why I came inside.
Really?
I am literally feet from it.
Okay.
I don't understand the connection issue. That's interesting.
Are you wireless then? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right next to it.
Yeah. No, you're usually wireless if you're next to it.
No.
Yeah.
Holding my phone, but
Oh, really?
I'm very close.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because the thing is, I run Google Fiber.
Yeah.
And when I was running Google Fiber, what happened was that I did wireless, and then to speed up, I went direct, and it actually increased the speed 10 times. I mean, it just went off the charts, maybe even more. It went from like 70 mbs to like 500. It was incredible, you know. So with Google Fiber, if you go direct, you don't go wireless, you're faster. With wireless, you always run into issues like
Interesting.
that. At least that's what I've seen, you know. So I tend to stay away from wireless. But you do have your headset and microphone. Well, tell us a little bit about these high IQ societies. Most of the people on our group are
What do you guys know about psychedelics?
Psychedelics. Okay, just realize these are chess players, which means they know nothing outside of chess, and we have one guy who does startups. So when you run to things like psychedelics,
Don't think that. I'm a huge chess player.
And don't count us out with psychedelics either.
we don't. Well, he's in San Francisco, so who knows what he knows. So
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
Intellectuals, they love. If broadening your horizons is a good thing, and intellectuals enjoy increasing their perception, stimulating their awareness,
Expanding your
and really, there's so many other ways you can't dive into the metaphysical or psychoanalytical aspects of the divine experience.
yeah. Okay.
Am I breaking up?
No,
only a little. You're doing pretty good.
we hear you pretty good.
Yeah.
Your picture actually pixelates. I mean, it doesn't pixelate. It just moves slow, and you know, moves. It jumps. Okay, rather than being.
Yeah. Right.
But okay, tell us a little bit about psychedelics. What's a psychedelic?
Yeah. My wife's the IT person.
That's good.
What's a psychedelic? A psychedelic is anything that mimics the DMT in your brain when you're in a deep sleep.
I'll be right.
And that is basically preparing yourself for death. So
really?
It's like a chemical doorway that opens.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Have you never read Strassman's The DMT, the Spirit Molecule?
No, I only read technical journals. Actually, I have a very limited reading library, as you can see back there. Most of them actually are not anything beyond, chess, technical stuff, and garbage, you know, like that. Things that most people can't understand, don't want to read, and are extremely boring. And that's what I specialize in. So it sounds to me as you actually have something interesting. How to change your mind. See, all that stuff is mind blowing to me.
Michael Pollan.
Who?
Michael Pollan.
You know who he is?
Famous.
Wait, Michael, do you know who this Michael Pollan guy is?
How to change your mind?
Yep.
Mm-mm.
No.
Oh, what the new science of psychedelics teaches
No,
about consciousness.
sorry.
Yeah, but he was telling me psychedelics is something you enter into in your mind right before you die. Now that sounds somewhat exciting, you know. So talk to me about that. How does that work?
Yeah, I've had at least 2 near-death experiences.
Okay,
That's interesting.
Did you see a white,
it's such a deep subject. Which aspect of it?
Did you see a white light? Because Kim also had it. One of the people on our.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that white light.
Okay, so the first time did something stupid.
Yep.
Well, okay. So the first time, my heart stopped, and I went to this nice place, Purple Hills and whatnot, and came back immediately. And they said that I was convulsing and had a seizure on the floor, whatnot. Interesting. It was just something stupid. I'm going to tell you what it was because people might try it.
We're being recorded.
So the other thing was, do you know anything about ergot and the Freemasons?
Yeah, Freemasons I do know a little bit about, but
yeah, I'm not going to.
Right.
We're not allowed.
So there's occult hermeticism is basically I'll keep it more academic.
Sure.
I'm going to be kind of parroting my brother a little bit. He's the scholar. So in occult hermeticism, there's symbolism hidden all throughout man's history, and especially with, for instance, Moses with the burning bush was possibly being fumigated with acacia. So it was, think of it like a sweat lodge with vast amounts of DMT, which is the same chemical your brain
By the way, what's that
when you're in deep sleep or close to death. So
speaking of
any psychedelic is
find out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah. The all-seeing eye, and there was a split at some point between several secret societies, and I can only assume that the founding of our great nation here in America used the Masonic principles associated with liberty and freedom and liberalism and gave us a good foundation. But yeah, that's a whole other thing. So the white light. Okay. Here's the thing. Ergot. It was. Oh, Danny's not going to like me telling this, but that's why I'm here, because I can say things he might not be able to. So there is a ritual called the threshing floor, and it was an ancient Masonic ritual where they would take wheat and beat the impurities out of it, and then they would collect ergot from the threshing floor, which was like a metal grate on the bottom, and they would take this ergot, which is poison. It will kill you, and they would transmute it slightly, and it becomes a poison that will kill the ego and trick the brain into thinking it's dying, but not actually die. So this was illumination. This was true enlightenment as far as the ancients were concerned. And so guess who synthesized ergot in 1938?
No clue. Talk to me. Who?
Figure one of you guys would know this.
Nope.
1938.
That was right before World War II, so I didn't get started reading till 1930.
No clue? Oh,
no.
There must be a lag.
No.
Okay, so Albert Hoffman synthesized 1938. Yeah, lysergic acid diethylamide.
Oh, into LSD.
LSD, basically.
Right.
So Timothy Leary and his whole acid philosophy from the 60s with the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Right.
And so you get into that stuff, and when you go through the experience, and I can tell you about it, but it's a lot of symbolism is hidden in this experience. You find references to it in the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, a lot of Gnostic references, Christian Gospels. It's all over the place.
Right.
So the point is to dissolve the ego, and then you go through a process of personal apocalypse, because that's what Revelation is. And the Genesis is the individual having union with the source of all and going through the process of what it is to be God, and then to create through a process of Genesis the entirety of creation by saying yes to it. And it's that. And so okay. Subjective experience is inside the human condition, and that's time and space. It's separation, individuality, and what exists as the source is outside of time, outside of space. It is the infinite singular point before anything. And so you actually experience what it is for the universe to say yes to existence and then spring forth. if you go through this properly. And there is a lag, so.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a lag between.
So what do y'all think about that?
I'll tell you what I think about it, Michael. I think that at one time this was wisdom that was shared among people that were probably part of the elite, and the way that they retained this wisdom was within symbols. And so these symbols have been passed down through cultures, through various different ways. You'll see it in hieroglyphics. You'll see it in other cultures that have nothing else in common. You'll see the same symbols in India. In the Masonic rituals that you're talking about.
Right.
These are all things that were once shared and are now preserved only through symbols. But it's a common wisdom that we have shared throughout the ages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then these symbols do exist, and actually the Freemasons were big in starting the United States of America. But the Gita, too bad Ankit isn't here, because I think that is, and the Vedas are very well followed in India even today. They have a whole different religious system.
Oh yeah, the Rig Veda especially has a lot of these references.
Right,
Yes.
right. They have a lot of references, and our resident from New Delhi and our because we have a lot of followers in India aren't here right now. So the thing is,
well, I'm not a yogi, but I can play one on TV for you, Nick.
Oh, you can? Okay,
Yeah.
so
Nice.
you know a little bit about that.
Yeah,
Right.
I do. I have my spiritual advisor is a yogi, and so I
Nice.
with her once a week. And so a lot of the things that she's taught me resonate very well with what Michael is saying. And this is preserved in Indian culture in many different aspects, of course.
Yeah.
But there has this commonality among all of them, and this
Right.
includes Buddhism too. It's
Right.
very much the same.
Well,
And
this is part of the reason.
thing.
Yeah, for IBMTV is, and then we can
The
get the
reference
people
of the
from
cow.
India here.
Especially.
Yeah, because the people in India apparently follow all that stuff. You see what I mean? Where the people in the United States were like second generation on that. It's like a whole different culture over there. And over there, it seems to be a more peaceful culture than it does in the United States. United States,
Yeah, here it's more of a
warrior
libertarian argument.
Yes. Personal rights.
Personal rights, but aren't we really a warrior nation? I mean, if you look at it relative to the rest of the world, I mean, even Russia's scared of us, but I don't think they're scared of us because of our military. They got a good military, but it's because we're crazy. Okay, the thing is, when it comes to that, in Russia, they already had to deal with the German crazy people twice. They're kind of like tired of it, So it's just.
Well, Nick, we have a short attention span, so even though we knew these things once, we've forgotten them.
Yeah,
and, it's a part of our culture to forget.
Right.
And, so we don't have a long generation.
Yeah,
Indian culture has been passed on from generation to generation to generation, and we do not have that sense of passing on in the United States. I think it's one of the things that has made us kind of a mixed up country.
Yeah, and when it comes to attention span, one thing that got me is usually on the major media, every week there'll be the crisis of the week. The coronavirus has been one thing that we predicted would have a lot of stay-in power, and now it's the crisis every week. But before the coronavirus, it was always our attention span would be changed by the media weekly. In other words, it's Black Lives Matters today, and then next week it's going to be fires in the West Coast, whatever it is. There's always some sensational thing. Remember, it's always sensational. Breaking news. Breaking news. The coronavirus just topped X. It's got to be all sensational. It's not factual anymore.
And usually identitarianism. It's usually woke Marxist garbage. Honestly, it's either going to be and honestly, you don't call your organization anti-fascist and then use fascistic tactics and say anyone who brings that up now is a fascist. Same thing with Black Lives Matter. It's like if you condemn their tactics, oh, you must be a racist. Why? Because it's called Black Lives Matter. It's in the name, guys. Don't you understand? Aren't you smart enough to understand?
This is a very complicated subject that we want to make simple, and so that we can understand it.
Yeah.
And so we make errors on both sides.
Oh, well, that's what also happens. It swings like the stock market. In other words, the thing is, you swing all the way to the left, then you swing all the way back to the right. I mean, it just goes like a pendulum. And where are the middle
Yeah.
rational people? I have no clue. You know, I guess they
Cancel
were out
culture
working.
started with the church. I mean,
yeah.
if you'll remember Saturday Night Live and the church lady, and you guys remember the
Oh, yeah,
church
sure. I
lady,
remember the church lady.
Dana Carvey?
Yep.
Yeah, he was a parody of the 90s cancel culture, the woke church culture. This is where this all started.
Really?
And if you look, I mean, yes, oh, absolutely. So everything, when I grew up in the South in the 90s, oh, everything was Satan. It was all evil.
Right.
Get that satanic crap out of my house. Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It was,
That's still
and that turned into,
today.
it was like a faith awakening on the other side. So the predominant culture became the counterculture. So now you have conservative voices being censored, and the mainstream is this predominant Marxist ideologies, and they have their own church of woke. Really, they've been washing the feet of Black Lives Matter activists. How can you not see that as a biblical action? It's straight out of the Bible. Washing someone's feet, kneeling to them in forgiveness. It's a church.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
It's a church. And this is a new faith and a new cancel culture because the culture has flipped. The cancel culture is now
Well,
it's interesting.
Part of the reason, since we're such strange Americans, part of the reason we bring in people from other countries who look on the outside looking in, Sasha, who's actually been part of that, both sides of the world, may be able to weigh in. He does the investment show, he does chess, which brings him into reality. But since, Sasha, you were over in Russia and you actually experienced the real, I guess, Marxist, communist, or whatever the heck they did over there. What are your thoughts on that whole show? You live in Canada now, but what's your thoughts on the show over on the East Coast, I guess?
I will tell you one thing. You will regret asking me this question. Because what I will tell you.
The question. But I'd be very curious of the answer. We usually don't talk about political systems and stuff like this on IBMTV. But you had to live over there. So what's the story over there?
You've covered much more than political questions. You've covered many questions, including religious and all kinds of others. Okay, let's take one by one, and I will be very straightforward and very direct. And I may hurt somebody's feelings, but this is their business. I don't care. Okay? First of all religion based on belief. There is no proof of anything. Sir Isaac Newton said 300 some years ago that unless you can prove it by scientific experiment, it's all worth nothing. So whenever you're talking about all kind of beliefs and Satan and all kind of garbage, this is really a garbage, nothing else, nothing more. Okay, number one.
That leaves out the meaning of life. The meaning of life is not quantifiable.
There is a meaning of life. Yes, there is.
It's not measurable.
It's not up to a human beings to discuss what it is. It's beyond a comprehension. So there is nothing to believe or deny or to prove something. It's just beyond human comprehension. And by the way, Hinduism and Buddhism and Confucianism, all the Eastern religions, or not if Confucianism is not even religion, but all these philosophical teachings are based exactly on that. You have to study what is now, where you are now. And Hindus are going as far as to say that the process of living is a decreation. So essentially, when you are dying, you are becoming one. So, and essentially, instead of going like in Christianity, that, okay, here is a creation and you from zero and you're becoming a man, and then you have history and you have all kinds of things. The Hindus are doing exactly opposite way. Everything what they live is all temporary, and finally, when you're dying, it's coming to the real oneness. That's how they call it. I don't remember the Hindu word for this. However, It's neither here nor there.
Well, I mean, the devil's in the details. That's the fall of Lucifer. But it's interesting because Christianity.
Excuse me. Forget about Lucifer and devil. All this nonsense. It's a nice story for some naive people who have nothing better to believe in all that garbage and follow it and say, here is a Satan.
Yeah, that's what George Carlin said. Is that they must have created.
There is a Lucifer who is Satan, who is proof. Now you're talking about the God, the Almighty.
Now we're talking about the transmogrification.
During Second World War, 6 million Jews were killed for nothing, and a lot of them were observant and
National Socialism.
People. All of them were
let's
killed.
Let's talk about the National Socialism of Germany.
Garbage. Here's what I'm telling you. 100%, and nobody can prove otherwise. You can go to your church, you can pray there for 17 and a half hours, but it's not.
Allow me to retort.
No, I haven't finished. You will listen to me until I finish. Only then I will allow you to retort. Thank you.
You're in control.
We're going now into a story, what's happened now in United States of America. Okay, here's what's happening is it's happened 1,000 years ago and 2,000 years ago and any time in history. When there are oppressed people like Germans in Rome 2,000 years ago, they were oppressed, or they believed rather that they were oppressed, and they wanted to defeat Rome and fight for their rights. So what they did, they were preparing all kinds of small wars, large wars, any wars, and essentially at the end of the day, they defeated Rome. Okay, at least Western Rome, because Constantinople was still around for another 1,000 years until Turks defeated it. So if now Black people in the United States of America believe, and probably within a reason, that they are being oppressed. There was a discrimination right from the history and until today. They have to, if they can, it's another story, but if they can, they have to fight for their rights by all means. And that include, or could include, arms. And that would be a civil war. And if white people or majority of people, I don't know where Latinos fit in, however, if they are prepared to defend their status as it is where it's now, they will have to fight and be prepared to die. Or, as an alternative, they have to make a peace and accommodation. So now they have to decide whether it's worth to fight and die. A lot of them will die, or accommodate a peace and find some kind of accommodating agreement which will be suitable for all parties. That's where we are now. That's where we're going now. Please retort.
Okay, Mr. Newman.
Okay. I was about to get a notebook.
Yeah, you don't need to take notes. It's recorded anyway. But the floor is yours, sir. So this reminds me of court, because when I go to court, they always let one guy talk, the other guy talks, and they sit down. The judge goes, "I'll take it under advisement," which means nothing happens. But that's another story.
Yeah. Well, there's a few interesting things to touch on that. I would start with the transmogrification of Catholicism and how Christianity actually started as a conglomeration and basically a recruiting tool for all the different disparate ideologies, cultural. I mean, there were so many differences, and they were trying to bring them all together. It's like, oh, you need a martyr born at the solstice? We got you. We're going to throw that in. You need a virgin mother? We got you covered. You know, you need a holy trinity? We will represent that, you know. And they had so many things brought together that it actually, what it became was an amalgamation of archetypal significance. And it became actually a more potent legend, myth, fairy tale religion. It became a more potent version of anything we've ever had like that on this planet, because they were all rolled together into one. And it's interesting because, you know, you brought up the thing about people feeling oppressed. And when Nietzsche spoke about God is dead, he wasn't literally meaning that, of course. He meant when the mass population stops believing in the religion of the time, there's only two options you have from that. One is that the state becomes God, and we all know this is wrong. You don't follow orders just because you're following orders, because the state is using force of violence against you. Option two is that the individual internalizes aspects of deity, bearing the cross, personal responsibility. And Jordan Peterson's argument is that you can't just take morality in a vacuum, and that the reason the West became such an amazing force for good and a beacon of hope in the world is specifically because the Judo-Christian background that we had, that wasn't exactly about believing in the thing as such. It was about entertaining the potency of the fairy tale, because these archetypes are very significant and they go back into our prehistory. They're part of folklore. And I would even suggest that they're part of an emergent property upon which the thing that makes us different than the animals rests.
Do we have any comments from our people down under in Australia, mate? Okay, now that you were listening to arguments from council, will bring us to Melbourne, which is a whole different world down there, as we well know. They have animals that we don't have. They have land that spreads far and wide, and frankly, they're isolated from the rest of the world. So that's like
dangerous place.
It's a dangerous place, but it's pretty cool, because it's almost like you went to a Star Trek TV show and you got transported in this world that's all weird. That's called Australia. So the thing is, mate, what do you got to say for that?
I'm just looking at it. I've had a bit of a brush with Freemason, and that's just, and the way they do things, very, the term was I don't know, dismissed me for the time being, but they use a lot of the metaphors, and I can see exactly.
Allegory?
Yes, allegory is the term that I was looking for. Yeah. Thank you. And I can see a lot of that happening. And I say, wow. I mean, until today, that just didn't dawn on me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And these things are left over, and they're so potent that they would almost be like something like out of the Bible, the Cain and Abel story, something like 11 lines out of the first story. How is that? You cannot forget that story. And why is that? Because that's been a repeating theme throughout humanity's history, even before prehistory. It's part of our neurological structures. Like, these things are left over from the evolutionary crucible. And it's like, if you take an average individual, you raise that person without a father. Statistically, we know this makes them so close to being a sociopath, it's almost indistinguishable. You take away the people that love them. So then the father, what we're calling fatherhood, is a necessary structure to the emergent property of what it means to be a higher functioning human being. And it's all of these things are underlying real structures. When you take them away, you do detriment to that person.
Yes,
you affect their
life.
You
have chaos.
Yes.
Michael, since I dragged you from the high IQ group, tell us a little bit about these high IQ groups and the psychometric testing and all this other stuff that goes on those groups. What's the story behind all that stuff?
Yeah, I refused to prove myself. I said, I'm not going to jump through these elitist network hoops. I said, I've been tested when I was younger, and I was like, you're going to have to prove my intelligence, disprove my intelligence, And so I go on these sites specifically to try and find people who are like mental calculators and help them find a more approachable way to interpret and analyze the data and they're not very personable people. They're very intelligent.
I was wondering about that, because I've had a hard time with that particular group. Like I told Willie, they're worse than startups, because in terms of like, hey, would you want to be on TV and talk to people? It's like,
because it's a lot of ego.
I have a very good question, may I? If somebody indeed is a very high IQ, extremely erudite and extremely intelligent person, but he just happened to be not very articulate and cannot express himself and cannot do anything. What's the use of society for this type of people? Why would they care about them?
that don't have
I
articulation.
can help the answer that question,
Sure.
Sasha. Okay, if there's a sport called basketball, and in basketball, if you're 7 foot tall, you definitely have an advantage. Yet the best player in the world was 6'6". Why isn't the 7 foot or 7'9" player who has a height advantage the best? Because there's other skills that come with it to be successful. And so what
Muggsy
happens
Bogues,
is, yeah,
5'3"
Muggsy
and
Bogues was real small. Yeah, he was
shorter than me.
5'5" or 5'9".
5'3".
5'3". Okay, and he was a successful basketball. But see, the thing is, there's other factors, and see what happens with the people that, especially that move into psychometric testing. They also are like chess players. They keep taking tests over and over and over and over again. It's almost like I got to keep proving to myself I'm smart. So I'm going to take another test. I'm going to take the Titan.
It's very much egotistical.
What was my question? Sorry, what was my question?
Well, your question was well, what can they contribute? In other words, what's the advantage or the contribution? Well, that, by the way, that's a very good question. Part of the reason I wanted to create a show, we haven't done that yet, with the high IQ show, is so people like you can ask questions to people like them, because
it's a good point. In the age of Google, we don't need human calculators. He's got a very good point.
I've got a comment though. Sasha, these people need what I call protocol converters, which is what I spent a lot of my life doing. And being able to talk to people like that cannot communicate with others well.
Translator,
understand what they are saying, and convert the protocol to others so that they can understand what that person is saying as well.
And take people with the perfect logical argument and give them an ethical framework.
Before you do that, you have to convince yourself that they have really something important to say and something interesting. Because if they don't,
they're convinced.
Please don't waste your time.
Remember, you're only dealing with one factor. It's like a processor. I've got a high-speed processor, but who put the software?
Right.
Okay. Well, if your software is bad, it doesn't matter. Your processor could be the fastest processor in the world, but it doesn't play chess very well because the guy who programmed it sucked. Okay, so
let me tell you one story.
It's people that have high processors, but may not have all the other factors like the software.
And because ego is factored into it, they won't shore up their own weaknesses.
Right.
You might have high mathematics, but then you won't work on your verbal.
That is an excellent point.
What Michael said is perfectly true. In other words, they'll excel tremendously in mathematics because it's very functional, and then they go to verbal skills, which is more rules based, and they lose it, or they're just not interested in it. So it's a whole different. But I'll tell you this: worldwide, it's a cult following. It's like chess. Okay, there's these high IQ groups all up and down the internet that have these cult followings. That are there, but one problem, what Michael said, which is also,
and I've attempted to infiltrate them.
Infiltrate them. Well, some of them have no admission requirements. Too. Yeah. I mean, see, the thing is, it's not like you even have to take any test, and all the numbers are all skewed because it's like ELO. In other words, it's like Lee Chess versus chess.com.
That makes a lot of sense.
In other words, the norms for a Wechsler is totally different than the norms from a Stanford Binet, or totally different from a Cattell. So what you have is different norms, and so people get their egos wrapped up. Oh, I got the super high IQ. Well, you took the wrong test. In other words, you took a test that pushes the numbers out higher than normally would be pushed out, and you're not really in the 9.99 percentile, which is the only real metric, is really a percentage of the population that took it. So it's kind of, like I say, it's kind of a weird cult group. And then the people that go, hey, I'm Mensa. Mensa are the low end. See, that's what a lot of people don't know. If you're a Mensa member, they're 3%. The top ends are all these weirdo groups you never hear of. Well, it's the Mega Society, I guess, is probably the most active one. But now when you go to personality, getting them on board, get them to do something. Okay, that's like you got this little processor with bad code. It just doesn't work. Or no code, Sasha. So this is one reason.
They're so sure, though. They're so sure it's right.
Oh yeah, you're right. They're so sure it's right. Well, they're so sure, but what they do is
the thing is, when you get your ego is wrapped up in it. Yeah.
Well, I would like to contribute one story. And I agree completely that the ego gets in the way. And this is a real problem for individuals and for society. But I remember I was a systems programmer, but we had a complete wipeout of our management structure because we were having so many problems, and they promoted me into being a manager, and they brought in somebody else to be my boss. And my boss told me to fire this one person because this one person was Chinese, English was the second language, was unable to communicate, but he was the one person who was better than I was at programming systems. And I could understand him, and I could talk to him, and then I could go and talk to my boss. And then I told my boss that if he goes,
middleman.
And that gave them pause, and so they gave him a probationary period, and I told him how to act so that the boss would not fire him. And so I translated
It's a power move
into his language and his language into hers. And the three of us managed to solve all the problems that the company was having in terms of systems. And so this is my main point is that one person alone is rarely effective. You need a team.
Right.
You need more people because everybody has different skill sets to bring.
Right.
And when the ego gets in the way, even a team can't help.
Yeah.
But if you egoless,
two thumbs up. Right, because it's just well known, at least in law practice, that when you're going through a trial, you get what they call subject matter experts, the people that just spend all their time in one little area, and they're going to provide a better result than if you scatterbrain and say, hey, I know everything, because you don't. I mean, and Magnus Carlsen, since you guys are chess players, know one thing. He attended TED Talks, and then he walked out and said, I don't know anything. Okay, because he's really good at one thing. Magnus is the world chess champion. Okay, he's really good at that one skill set. He plays chess really, really well. It probably has a fairly decent sized processor brain. Okay, but then as he migrates to all these other things that are out there, it's all of a sudden he doesn't even have the software to be able to process it. He was never unloaded. Yeah. It's just like when you said you fired somebody, because I've had to hire and fire people.
I didn't fire.
Okay, you didn't fire them. Okay, but you've had to fire people before, right? I would assume.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When you were in high school, middle school, or elementary school, did they teach you how to hire and fire people? And take any classes in it?
Not at all. This was
not at all. And do you know the thing is, it's kind of a tough thing to do.
It is.
You know the thing. And I've had to do both. Hiring is usually pretty good. Though you go, hey, you got a job, maybe we're gonna give you money. But firing people is not so good.
Trump. He knows a thing or two about firing and hiring people.
Oh, not in person. On a TV show he does, but not in person. He sends somebody else.
Yeah. No. Trump, I'm sure, fires and hires people all the time. There's absolutely no question.
Get someone else to do it.
Well, if he's really good, that's probably correct. After a while, that's the trick, Jim. You say, I think we need to get rid of X, Y, Z. So the person that works for you tell them to go fire the person.
That's right.
So you don't have to go through that emotional baggage of having to let somebody go, especially if they worked for you a long time. And we experienced that in our company in 2008. I mean, it's a tough thing to do. You don't really want to fire them, but in 2008, when the economy crashed, we just had no choice. We had to start laying off some of our long-term employees.
But you don't fire them through Twitter.
No, we didn't. Yeah, it was face to face, but it was kind of a bad experience because you're letting them go not because they did anything wrong, because frankly your company doesn't have the money to pay them.
Right.
I mean, it's period the end.
Something occurred to me. Do you know how many lives would have been saved if Stalin would have a Twitter?
Stalin would have had a Twitter. He started a whole different culture over there. But then the thing is,
he was in between.
Yeah. But if you look at
the printing press, and then there wasn't a new medium at the time.
Yeah,
there were rifles.
But if you look at the history, okay, and the things that they had to go through, I mean, think about living in Russia. Now, Sasha had to do that, and I'd like to have more Russians on to listen to what it was really like, because I only get it through what I read what it's like, which is different than what it's like. But the thing is, when I read what it's like, it didn't seem so good. Stalingrad was a big bloodbath. They killed like a million people. in one city.
Look at the
It
differences.
was awful.
The differences of the United States Constitution and the old Constitution of the USSR. They're very, very similar. The big difference is, instead of God-given rights endowed by your creator for every single person, you have rights recognized by the state according to a worker's ability to be productive.
Mhm.
Everything else was basically the same, but that
Yeah.
one ideological difference transformed the entire society in a bad way, I would say. And maybe Alexander, maybe he has
Well,
something to say about that.
Alexander, you actually lived over there for a while, didn't you? I mean, that was you grew up there.
Absolutely.
Odessa,
See,
Ukraine.
the problem is that the constitution in Russia was never a real document that people would live according to what it says or what it means or how it's interpreted. Nobody really ever cared for the constitution. By the way, just recently, a couple of weeks ago or so, there was another change of the constitution, and now I think the president, which is Vladimir Putin, he can rule now for another 77.5 years, if you'll be still alive by that time. And there are many other things are being changed here and there, but nobody really cares. People really wouldn't give a damn about all these changes because they knew and they know that as government, Mr. Putin will decide that he wants to do it this way. It's going to be done regardless of what's in the Constitution. He wants to do it another way around. He's going to do another way around. So the Constitution is absolutely meaningless. However,
it's kind of like, we've been dealing with a similar situation, and I don't mean with Trump. If you look at, not many things have changed, especially with regard to war and a lot of policies in those issues. As you see, we go from Bush to Obama, and you couldn't have two completely different presidents, but you really couldn't tell as far as the policy went. Guantanamo Bay never got closed down. The troops never came home. War was instigated further. And it's a lot of people are under the impression that what we're calling this deep state establishment thing has been controlling basically both sides of the aisle, and Marxist, globalist kind of plot going on. And I mean, if you look at so many Democratic governors want to shut things down. If it's going to be quarantines or riots, they're going to lock you down and they're going to take away your ability to do things. And see, I am a what you call an anti-federalist. I don't like the executive. I want the big government to get out of my hair, out of my house, out of my bedroom. But when the president is the chief executive is the one saying, no, we're going to sue you if you don't let these people have their rights back. As a conservative, I don't know what to tell you. I'm in a tough position there. I'm an anti-federalist, but the only one arguing for my rights is the chief executive.
Because I don't believe in any of these QAnon conspiracy theories, but I don't think that it's a deep state that's controlling these. President one.
No, it's archetypal.
My time, counselor, and I don't believe in any of these conspiracies, and I don't believe that the deep state is the one controlling these things. I think it is money that is controlling them. Corporations and people with money are calling the shots.
Well, every time you guys say, we're going to sue, I always think that I'm going to get paid. So I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going like, you're going to go sue like it's bad. I'm going like, yes, let's go ahead. Let's go to court. That sounds great, you know. But you know, Sasha, in Russia though, I see Putin, at least again, we get filtered material, that he was actually very popular over there. So when Kasparov tried to challenge him, going, guy, he may be a bit of a thug, but dude, he's a popular thug. I mean, is he still popular? At least he was popular when I was over there. A popular person.
Putin indeed was very popular and still is. Sometimes his rating, if you believe in such things, but sometimes his rating is about like 90% of approval. Sometimes now I think it's closer to 70% of approval. It's never been below 50, that's for sure.
Right.
So it's different degrees, whether you want to take 70 or 90 or take a middle one, which is 80, is still very, very high by any standards. And Western standards, when Trump has approval rating of, say, less than 30%. So that speaks by itself, really, for how popular he is. Now, let's talk about Kasparov. Kasparov always was an elitist quantity, elitist entities, should I say. And he expressed very right, 100% everything what Kasparov ever said. I not only because I know him personally, but and not because his IQ is one of the probably 5 highest in the world, but and he's unlike Carlson, he's very very well informed and has his opinion about many many different subjects, from sciences to history to politics to just anything. But don't forget, the majority of Russian people, of Russian nationals, they are very backward people. They always ask themselves, if it's not Putin, then who else? How are we going to survive? What's going to happen? So, of course, there is no place for Kasparov in society like that. He's very well respected by forward-looking people, by elite people in Russia. And he's very popular on different talk shows, of course, through internet, through Zoom, through other services. But of course, it's elitist point of view, and it's not shared by majority of people for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay, so it seems like they have like one party there. We have 2 parties here. In Australia, mate, do you guys have 2 parties, 1 party, like in 5 parties, or what goes down?
We have like five, and then they form a coalition. The ones that win form a coalition with the others, and then that's how they play that game.
Like Italy, like Israel.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you actually have 5 parties
that
are major parties in Australia.
That's
because so it's totally different. And then when I was talking to Ankit, it was like,
what do they believe in?
What? Yeah, good question.
No, they have different.
they
will
believe in
have different
kangaroos,
policies.
mate. What?
Different policies, and then when they need to pass a legislation, then they will come in and say, "Okay, this is on the table." Then the others buy into it or they don't buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
Are these policies predicated by an ideological difference, or is it just all politics?
And also geographical, like the farmers, the rural farmers, they're quite big, and that's like the National Party, and they're quite big. So then you have in the city, the Liberals and the Nationals and the Greens. They all come in and play different scenes.
Yeah, and also when it comes to COVID-19, how many deaths do you have in Australia right now? How many people died of this COVID-19?
Melbourne spiked really high just recently in the last 3-4 days, and it just went through the roof. I don't have the actual figures with me, but yeah, that's caused the second round of lockdown. It's stage 3. Not serious lockdown, but yeah, don't go out. Otherwise, they whack you with a fine.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. So I didn't know that, but it has a lot less than the United States, right? Australia does?
Yes. We were only 26 million.
Yeah, I know. You have a less population, 1/10 the population or less.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we had somebody called up here at the university who had ties. It was a biological researcher who was being paid by China at the Fayetteville University, like right here where their Razorbacks are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we keep seeing all these spikes in America, and we're not taking into account there may be bad actors in America releasing strains that we don't exactly know about, because there are all kinds of mutations of this particular virus.
I don't think that's correct, but
well,
I don't think that there are mutations.
Maybe not a mutation. It's I'm trying to remember. Different recombinations. Yeah,
there may be variation. Well, one of the studies I read, though, that there's different. One reason you get different effects, it's how much you've actually contracted initially with the coronavirus. So if you ran in and you just got a little bit of it, you may have very little symptoms. But if you inhaled a lot of it, then you get huge symptoms. I don't believe that we have on Friday we actually have a doctor's panel, but I don't think we really actually got a strong grip on this because you read studies, you read certain amount of conflicting studies, and so the information is really hard to digest.
Virus, we don't know anything.
Okay. Yeah, we don't know a lot. But here's what I do know from the data. At least for the data I read, the United States. Yeah, wear a mask. Well, that's true. That seems to work. But the data I read is the United States leads the world in coronavirus deaths and is very high up there for deaths per million. And we have the most expensive healthcare system in the world. Okay, so when I'm looking at the data, it doesn't match up with the economics. How can we have the most expensive healthcare in the world and have an absolutely horrible result? But this happens a lot in the United States because, as we well know, our education is purportedly the best in the world, yet our PISA scores in math, which is very objective, we're 37th in the world. We're not even in the top 10. It's absolutely horrible. So there's some things that they just don't make any sense. Yes, Jim, you're begging to jump in. So
you're stupid, because I don't dismiss bad actors. Obviously, there are bad actors, but the problem we have is not the bad actors. It's that USA stands for you stupid, because we don't wear masks. Take the simplest precautions and we would be fine.
Do you know, okay, as early as yesterday, Jim, there was stuff posted on Facebook that masks don't make a difference. I'm dead serious. And I'm going like, wait a minute, because we had that argument, let's see, months ago. And then you have what I call empirical analysis. You have the studies and you have peer-reviewed studies. All the data I read empirically. Okay, if you had something that was airtight against your nose and mouth, all right, and your eyes, would you be able to contract the virus? Probably not. Okay, in other words, if the mechanism was strong enough, nothing's getting through. So we know something would work.
Ears.
Yeah, in your ears, everything. In other words, you have a Darth Vader mask.
Yeah, okay? But this is 90% effective.
I know that. That's what I'm saying. It has an effect. It has to, because let's imagine you go scuba diving, right? Yeah. Water is pretty solvable, and you have a mask on. Right. You drown? Generally not. Okay? So the thing is, we know empirically that a mask would work, but the question is, how much would it work? To totally dismiss this is insane. So I only have one word for it. It's stupid. Because any person who thinks, okay, I got, I have swimming gear on, I go underneath the water doesn't go through, duh. Okay, so the mask is just a lighter version of it. So we know empirically it works. What gets me is even
90% effective.
I know that. I mean, I would believe it's 90% effective. And the studies I read, if you wear a mask and they wear a mask, you're basically down to a possible 2%, even if you're close with withdrawal rate.
If everybody was doing it, would be okay.
Right. As a matter of fact, the thing is, they say it would actually reduce the coronavirus effect minimum of 15%. We'd lose 85% of our cases, just like bang, like that.
Dang. Just like that. It would be like it went away by magic.
Let me tell you what's happening, sir, kind sir. Freedom with the capital D-U-M-B. Okay? What's happening is the morons that are out there, which the United States probably has about, 100 million at least.
USA.
They don't wear the mask. They argue that they don't work. They argue vehemently on the internet and spread misinformation.
The misinformation.
Virus, and it just boggles my mind. So I just tell them they're stupid because I don't know how else to describe it. Do I have to give them a PhD dissertation that's peer reviewed triple times?
Did you hear the crying nurse?
Because we know it works. The only question is how well does it work? Pardon?
Talking about she was so upset they didn't have protective equipment. And I was thinking about that. I was like, wait a second. Does a surgeon wear a mask so you don't get him sick? It's like the mask isn't. It's so he doesn't infect the sterile environment.
Yes.
Yeah. And they were like, well, these nurses need more protective equipment and they need more masks. And at the same time in California, at that same time, you had a governor saying, well, wait, no, people don't need masks because there was a shortage and they wanted them for their officials. So it's been so much misinformation on both sides.
That's not correct.
Which one was that?
In California? No.
Somebody did say that initially.
Wearing a mask. I'm sorry, that's not correct. But I will also say what I read on Facebook was that it's unconstitutional to ask people to wear a mask. And my reply was, well, walk down Main Street naked and see what happens. You know, they insist that we wear clothes walking down Main Street. Otherwise, you end up in jail.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't tell me
and also that whole area has been argued and won and lost at various different county and state levels. Believe it or not. Okay, people don't do that because of societal norms rather than legal and constitutional issues. Okay, there are some legal and constitutionals there, and that means that we get paid as attorneys to argue them. Ding. And you can win or lose those arguments because
if I see your junk, that interferes with my pursuit of happiness. Honestly.
Well, the thing is, there's what they call public policy violation, and it'll be up to the judge at the end of the day to say, okay, if you don't, it's a violation of public policy, whatever that might be, and they can restrict you, or they can say, well, we don't eliminate your freedom. You're certainly free to not wear a mask as long as you stay within 30 feet of another person, or some crazy thing like that. It has never been argued yet, at least to my knowledge, in any court, Jim. But there are attorneys all over the country that are willing to take your money and argue whatever side you like.
Oh yeah, I agree.
You know?
I agree with that.
And that is the realities
How,
of legal.
how can you protest? How can you protest and people say that's okay? Especially, I've seen news reports. I think it was Washington Post saying that everyone needs to wear a mask in these protests unless you're an African American that feels you'll be racially profiled, and then you don't need to wear a mask.
Yeah,
and
but
it's like, how many reports have shown us
that's somebody who says, as opposed to a law. Laws are a whole different cat.
Yeah,
they're
opinions. You want,
well,
put it on the internet.
If it's an executive order by a governor, that's arguably
doesn't mean it's a law.
Or at least carries the weight. No, it's not.
Doesn't mean it's a legal law.
It's arguably
it's
carries the weight.
Order.
Michael, you're perfectly free to walk down Main Street.
Well, it's like
if that's your pursuit of happiness, go ahead.
Yeah, but the thing is, executive orders by a governor may have a full effect or law and may be totally tossed. You don't know. Usually what I like to see is when the judge, generally a Supreme Court judge, makes a decision, then it's the law of the land. Okay, so once it hits the Supreme Court of the United States, I'm very comfortable with that opinion. Until then, it's still an opinion all the way up and down the food chain.
Hey, and I was a protester of the Vietnam War, and I was carrying a sign that said "Make love, not war," before I'd done either one of those things.
Oh, that's great, Jim. I got you.
So I'm all for protesting.
Right. Okay. Well, since we're at the top of the hour,
protesting is great.
Want to let people know that at IBMTV we have Willie Hill as head of the Startup Australia, and has about 10,000 plus followers. Plus, it does Startup Europe. Sasha Starr, who runs the Chess Stars and also the Investment Show, which comes up today at 1 o'clock. He's in Toronto. Willie's in Melbourne. Jim Eade, who runs the Eade Foundation out of the Socialist Republic of Silicon Valley, and our special guest Michael Newman, who's in the Fayetteville, Arkansas, part of the 4G group. If you don't know what that is, you can Google it. And we're basically discussing startups, but our startups haven't shown up, which is typical on Startup Wednesday. And part of it. Oh, wait. Yes, Sasha is actually here. He actually does a startup. And Sasha, also, we'd like to know what's going on with your investment this Wednesday. Tell us a little about your shows and what you're doing.
Sure. Okay. First, about investment show. I happen to believe that a lot of people, a majority of people, I would say, completely illiterate when it comes to investments, and they rely on all kind of investment noise, not information, but noise. And they are making their investment decisions. Actually, they don't make any investment decisions because they rely on professionals such as money managers and some other clever advisors they will come across with. Most of the time, they're losing all their money, either because the advisor's incompetence or because the high fees are eating into the whatever profits there are. So people are becoming disillusioned, but there is a tragedy, especially with coronavirus times, that there is no place to hide. There is no vehicle that would provide you, even with some kind of a small stable income as 2-3% return. There is no such thing today. If you will get 0.5% 1%, I wouldn't even call it. It's already somewhat risky investment to get 1% return. So mostly it's a 0.5%, maybe 0.7%. So in the meantime, you must somehow to learn how to support yourself through some investments. Whatever you might invest, some people may have only $10,000. Some people will have maybe $500,000. I don't think that it's my goal to help people who have $500,000 investments or over, because they can do it themselves through so-called investment advisors, and good luck with that. But I manage my own investments, and I would like to share with people different vehicles that I'm using, explain investment decisions that I'm making. It's not to be considered as an advice to buy or to sell any investment whatsoever, but if they will learn something from me, like last time, and probably today we'll spend more time to discussing options, because this is a very important mechanism in making your investments decisions and maximize return on capital. And then I will discuss a real market environment, what's happening today with the market, which stocks are performing better than others, what is my outlook, my personal outlook. Remember, I don't work for anybody, I don't sell anything, I don't represent anybody but myself. That's about investment show. About chess show, it's evolving. Essentially, what started as the demonstration of our new invention, patented invention, it also became involved into chess history, chess politics. By the way, Jim helps me a lot with this. This Saturday, we will have absolutely fantastic show by the name "Is Chess Dead?" Question mark. No! Exclaim mark. Okay. And beside Jim, I will have Michael Hofer that I had last Saturday, but also I will have Grandmaster Mikhail Marin from Romania with his lovely wife Maria, who is an absolutely fantastic artist, and she will show her latest paintings to us. And we will look at two absolutely amazing games. One, which was played by Yefim Geller in 1965 in his match against Vasily Smyslov, former world champion, and where Geller sacrificed his queen several times and did some absolutely amazing moves like King G1, H1. There's a full board of pieces. There's a horrible tactical atrocities on the board, and he did such fantastic moves. And you will see, and it's such enjoyable game. That's what Tarash said, that chess, like music, make people happy. Another game, what I will show you, I just yesterday got latest new in chess magazine, and there are some games from the latest Carlsen tournaments. And I will show you these games which are being played these days. And you will see they have nothing absolutely in common with the games of yesterday's. There is no art. There is nothing except absolutely, well, very rare occasion, maybe one game out of 1,000 to enjoy, to learn something from it. They're not playing, they're just memorizing computer lines and demonstrating them over the board. Once computer lines are over, they're becoming 2,200 players. They're making blunders in one move, and etc. And I will show it to you. So, as I said in my startup, I offered solution to this miserable situation where chess is now, and we'll go on from there.
The thing I like about Sasha is that he minces words. You know,
yeah, right. He's never direct. He always skirts around the issues. Never is direct to you, and is always politically correct.
I really do. I support him 100% in his efforts.
Right,
he's really onto something.
Yeah, no, well, he is, because that's one of the real problems when computers came in. First of all, computers solved checkers, so it's a dead game basically because they solved it. And so they go, why would anyone play checkers when you can press in a computer program and it'll solve it? and computer programs have basically infiltrated the chess world, where the strongest players are now chess computers. They used to be the weakest, which eliminated a lot of the creativity and mystique of the game. And then the players are basically robots who, back to that, they synthesize all the games. He's right. They run the memory card, and then when the memory card's out, and the funny thing, there was a player, he eventually became a 2300 player, but I played him at USF when he was like a 1700 player, 1800 player, and I always beat him. And he goes, why? I said, because I played you enough. You've memorized these openings, but the minute you're done with the opening it's over, buddy, because you got to think, and you aren't good at it. Mm-hmm. Well, what happened? How did he become 2300? It took him a long time, is because he kept expanding his memory base. The guy just memorized all these variations up to the nth degree, and see, this is what we're seeing right now in the chess world, is they're memorizing through the use of computers all these variations up to here, and now they have to start thinking, and some of them don't think as good as others.
Yeah, but there is something else, and I discussed it yesterday with the Grandmaster Marian, because since I'm not Grandmaster, and maybe my chess understanding has certain limitations, so I wanted to verify it with him, and he confirmed everything what I just said.
Right.
First of all, in the old days, you had players with their own unique style. Geller played in one style, Keres in another one, Tao, Fischer, Karpov, Kasparov, they had their styles. They were immensely strong players, yet they had their own unique style and understanding position. Now, today, you're looking at games of Giri, what's his name, Nepomniachtchi, Caruana, and Nakamura, and they're playing the same openings, same style.
Right.
If I will not see the name of the player, I will never guess who the player is. Right. There's no styles. There is nothing. It's all computers there. But you know what? Why would they pay money to see their memory skills, not game skills?
Yeah, that's correct.
Memory skills. I'd rather take AlphaZero and Stockfish and let them play between themselves million games and enjoy it. And I will pay some money to enjoy it. Why would I pay these imposters any money? Okay, Carlson and Caruana, they cleaned $1.5 million for 12 games, 12 draws in 12 games.
Yeah, I remember
I would pay them max $500. That's it. Take it or leave it. Go away. That's it. Why would I pay $1.5 million? I was joking that if they would play for me for $750,000, so they would say, Sasha, you saved $750,000. You paid only $750, and look at these guys. They're playing wonderful chess. Garbage. Zero. 500. Okay, I feel good today. General Electric went up. Goldman Sachs went up. Okay, I'll give you 500. I'm in a good mood.
Yeah.
It's always good to see a Russian in a good mood,
Yeah. Better than the alternative.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. No, and that's one of the real problems with the game right now. And the other problem is the delivery system, which is, like you said, it's you take the top players versus the bottom players. The average player has no chance, and even the good players have no chance. But they do have a good chance to kibitz. In other words, bet on what the next move's going to be, and anybody could play that game. In other words, saying, well, I think he's going to play here, and I think the guy's going to do that, and then it becomes more of a level playing field and attracts viewership. Because chess, one problem it's always had is that, come on, Fabiano versus Magnus, 12 games, draws, 8-hour games. No one wants to watch it.
Here is the problem. In chess today, there is no gambling element. People love gamble. People like, oh, this guy beats this guy. But if you have 2,400 player playing against 2,200 players, so 24 will beat him, so it's 7 out of 7, maybe 11 out of 11, before there will be a single draw. Okay, so there's no interest, it's non-event.
Yes.
So now on the highest level, as we see Caruana, Carlsen, there will be 100% draws or 99%. Whereas there will be. You know what?
I think
was
even
impressed.
poker gets more viewership than chess, though.
Several sites are trying to bring gambling into chess. So when first speed tournaments at Carlson now organized, there was a site Bet365. I do bets on European soccer a lot on Bet365.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I saw the bets on this Carlson chess tournament, and of course, Carlson is the strongest, and especially in a speed chess and blitz, he's very good. So I looked at the odds, and oh my God, what I found is they offered 1.66 for Carlson. 166. Oh my God, I immediately put $300. 2 days later, I got $500 because these idiots, they even don't understand the odds. I would never pay for Carlson more than 1.10, maybe 1.15. That's it. They paid 166. Then I started to go, oh my, what kind of idiot I am? I should have put 3,000, not 3,000.
Yeah, you should have bet more.
I put 300 automatically.
It's free money.
That's normally what I put on bets in soccer. But here, oh my God, 3,000 right away. They don't understand what's going on. But it's not really, okay, this is really gambling proposition. You have to really know your odds or so on. What I'm talking about, a process where the game is being played, you're observing the game of Grandmaster.
Needs to be more exciting.
You are listening to the commentaries of at least international masters level. Probably the World Championship, I will bring only Grandmasters for comments. And you have on your screen, you have 3 hints by Stockfish. So the cheating is eliminated right away. There's no cheating because everyone has on the screen the same information. So there's no point, okay, you don't like Stockfish, you will go into another engine, maybe Komodo or some other, but it's not going to help you to predict the move at all. You can even use, if you want, you can use AlphaZero. Actually, one of my plans will become to bring AlphaZero to participate in the contest to guess your moves. And you will see AlphaZero will not be very successful in this contest because its skills and its calculations and everything else, it's outside of the set of skills required to successfully compete at this contest.
Right.
It's same like Garry Kasparov. When I just opened the site, I had a small tournament, and in the final, I had Wesley So playing against Alexandra Kostyanyuk. Wesley So was considered to be favorite. So Garry Kasparov was providing commentaries, plus he was predicting the moves. And he predicted about half, slightly over half of the moves. So almost half of the move he didn't predict correctly. And his assessment of the position was, he was thinking that at that time, Alexander Kostyanyuk had incredible advantage. So he said, okay, so obviously So will lose this first game, so the second game he will wipe her out, and then it will be a Armageddon game or so on. Guess what? Wesley So found the only moves that would lead to a draw. And he was able to draw his game. And then next game, he wiped her out easily, 17 moves with the black pieces in Sicilian. He just wiped her out.
Yeah, well, Leslie So is pretty strong. With us who's just joined us is Mark Lee from the Durham, North Carolina area, who also runs the Monday show, the radio show with Mark. And he's been in the radio business for about 30 years. I guess you would admit to that, right?
Yes.
Right, Mark? Tell us what do you have coming up on your show this Monday? Who do we have as your special guest?
We've got all kinds of amazing guests, as we always do. Actually, I want to tell you about the last guest that I just had, and then I'm going to go in and tell you the current guest. Let me get ready to turn down the volume a little bit, since that sometimes gives me back sounds and everything. But there we go. Definitely, the past guest I had actually was talking about some of what y'all were just talking about. I had Sarah Fatima on. She is a Iranian American, but she is also a stand-up comedian and somewhat of an activist. And then I had Stella Adams, who has definitely been involved with some of the things that are going on in our society, being a supporter of fair housing, and definitely having been involved in some of the early days of the civil rights struggle. in terms of like being, so she's close to my age. I can't really say early days because that would be more like my dad's generation. But she's 62 and is definitely involved in the 80s and the 90s a lot with civil rights, and has definitely been a supporter of the Black Lives Matter movement. And actually, as she liked to put it, what that movement is about the actual promise of what is claimed on the kind of like all of our statements that are out there, whether that's the Constitution, whether that's the whatever that might be out there of that promise that had been promised to most folks. Definitely we had that concept of 3/5 of a man for most African Americans in history books and things of that nature. But if you think about the actual promise, it was going to be a very diverse kind of population that would celebrate all kinds of lifestyles, multi-ethnic, multiracial, all of that kind of stuff. So that is what a lot of that promise is about. That is a lot of what folks are fighting about, whether that's Me Too, whether that's Black Lives Matter, or whether that's a couple of the other things that have been out there. So they were my guests, and I definitely enjoyed having them on. And I'm going to pull up the guests for this week, and I'll be able to tell you in a little bit who they are. But definitely that's what's going on there. I was actually listening to a little bit of y'all's conversation, as you can tell, in the background and everything. And I definitely have some beliefs that about religion. I actually consider myself more of a spiritual person than a religious person, because I think that the big churches and the institutions is actually where we messed up at, because I think that a lot of times that's where we get caught up in. We get caught up in the personalities and things of that nature. We don't pay enough attention to the actual messages that were in a lot of our biblical books and things along those lines, because whether it's the Quran, whether it's the Bible, and yes, there is a lot of symbolism. I was agreeing with my brother from California that there is a lot of symbolism within the books. So we have to be careful and realize that some of those are symbolic stories and not to be taken all that literally. They're to be taken more figuratively. So that's just some of my thoughts on that, because I was hearing some of those conversations. So I don't know that I agree with everything that I was hearing, but I definitely believe that we need to look at all of them. And a lot of the times, most of the world religions, as far as I'm concerned, basically have the same message, which is a message of love thy neighbor, support thyself, and most of those 10 commandments. If you look in the rest of the religious books, they're actually in those books as well. Most of those things are what a lot of societies want to do. As y'all know, I have African American background, but I also have some Native American background as well. And the Great Spirits definitely talked about a lot of the same things that were involved in the Bible also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you also mentioned fair housing, and Jim Lee lives in the Socialist Republic of San Francisco, which I would love to live in, but to get a 100 square foot home for $1 million, it just doesn't work with me right now. You live in these postage home and they want zillions of dollars. Okay, but it doesn't matter just all over the world. When I keep, at least in the United States, I can't say the world, but the salaries that people get and the cost of housing in my brain never adds up. You're spending a lot of money in the United States on housing. It's almost like you can't get a good deal on housing. What is the problem here with our housing? Why is it so bloody expensive? Maybe I'm cheap. I don't want to spend anything on housing. I don't want to spend anything on housing.
It's all about gentrification, Jim.
Our cops can't live where they work, and our firefighters can't live where they work.
Right.
The housing is pushing them out further and further away from the communities that they serve.
Yeah, but
no doubt about that. And gentrification has been going on for a number of years here in the United States. We've been pushing people further and further out with higher and higher costs. I mean, like you said, I live in Durham. I've got friends of mine that have tried to find housing as well as apartments in the downtown area of Durham. Some of those apartments are going from anywhere in the neighborhood of like $1,200 to $2,000 for a month's rent. So like I said, that's some very expensive housing. And I know a number of folks that can't afford that, particularly if they're working in certain kinds of jobs and things of that nature. So I agree that that is a major issue. I just heard recently, and I think we've talked about this here on this show before, because I've heard different figures, but the agreed upon figures that I'm hearing most of is that 30% of folks will go into foreclosure this
Right.
year. I've heard
Right.
the figures have
I did
been
hear
as high as 70%, but I've heard 30% was
Yep.
what we will face in foreclosure this year.
I've seen that data a couple times already.
40% of businesses.
Yeah, but when you look at that, and this is what gets me about the market, I know that Alexander's going to be talking about the stock market at 1 o'clock, but I keep looking at the market, 25,000, 26,000. Wait a minute, 1/3 of the people in the United States are, at least in North Carolina, aren't paying their mortgages. They're not paying their mortgages, and which means, like what you're saying, Mark, then there will be a default, then there will be foreclosures. All I see is then there'll be a meltdown on the bank, because what they do is they take that money and relend it again. Now they don't have the money to even relend. And you see this, all I see is a cascading amount of bad turbulence, and the market sits at 25,000. I go, I'm not a buyer, so I've been sitting on the sidelines. But also, I've looked at housing prices, and I go, gosh, when I first graduated from law school, I was spending the whopping sum of $196 a month for rent. And I thought that's enough. Now $196, that's my electric bill. I mean, the cost of living is so expensive that you're forced to have a job, you're forced to work, you're forced to have several jobs. And I'm a guy that likes not to work that hard, or if at all. I'm not as bad as Jim, but I'm pretty bad at that. I like to go play golf, play tennis. I lived in a country club and basically don't do anything. Yet the housing prices are so expensive and the cost of living is so expensive. Almost you can't afford to do anything except work until you die. I mean, is that what we're looking at, the future of America? Work?
I think we're looking at some deep trouble, and definitely in terms of what's going on with the economy. I mean, I know that certain people in certain offices are saying that things are going to be on the road to recovery. And I know there have been some reports of like even the unemployment starting to slide down. But I mean, if you've been collecting bills and collecting debt, then I don't know that that's going to be necessarily a great recovery. So I actually think that we may be heading toward a depression, no matter what people are saying and things of that nature. But I've actually got to teach you about something, Nick, because I know that you are a lawyer, and it comes back to something that my friend Michael was saying and everything. So I was always under the impression that if you became a lawyer, you automatically had to become a Freemason and join the Illuminati. So I was figuring that you were already a member. So I just had to teach you about that, because I thought that was in the contract in order to be a lawyer.
Well,
you can become a grandmaster without doing that.
What we do is we wait till people want to get in a fight, and then we win. Okay, so the minute you guys are going to argue, and I go, okay, who's going to pay me, and I'll argue either side. We win all the time, and then the people go, like Jim goes, oh no, and then there's going to be a lawsuit. I'm going like, and your problem is, let's get the calculator out. Time to make some money here, buddy. I mean,
well, Nick, I'm thinking maybe I should be moving to South Africa. I mean, all these talented people you're bringing on the show from South Africa, man, that's looking better and better to me.
It is, well, I haven't done
You just want to move to South Africa because you're in love with Alexandria, but I am too, so I can't really argue with you. Even if she's only like 25, so to us that means that she's like 12. Yeah, so like I said, we're both in love with her, even though she's incredibly young. So, but we got that old man wish. You even more than me, because you're even older than I am.
Definitely ID her.
I mean, not too long ago, people were trying to escape from South Africa at all cost.
Yeah, that's changed.
And they were trying to escape. But however, let's come to the United States with its economy. If I would provide advice to anybody what to do in this situation, advice would be very simple.
Gold.
Right here, right now, stop paying any bills. No mortgage, no maintenance, no electricity, no bills whatsoever, no credit cards. Just accumulate cash. Accumulate cash as much as you can. Stop making payments. Also, somebody maybe will take you to court. So you will say maybe in 25 years somebody will win your case, and at that time probably you won't be even alive at that point. So why would you care? So just stop paying. Accumulate cash. Bring cash. Put your cash together, and then start making wise investments. And ignore everybody, whoever will call you and sue you and do whatever it is. Just tell them just to go to hell. Sometimes, well, you know what? I will teach you a couple of phrases in Russian. So when somebody, collector, calls you something, you will tell him, "Извините, не понимаю. До свидания." It will work probably for a couple of years. Then they will
Agree to
probably
disagree on that
Slow
one.
it down. Slow it down so I can remember it.
Yeah,
I'll write it
Jim,
down.
Jim can write it down. До свидания. До
exactly.
свидания, спасибо.
Yeah. It will work for a couple of years. Then they will
Work for a couple of years.
Then you find a Russian translator. So a Russian translator will talk. So you will talk him in Ukrainian just to go to hell.
And the police will be defunded by then, so they can't come and get me.
Very important thing. While you are accumulating cash,
Accumulating cash.
fun. You're having fun. All
And
your
you're-
money you keep,
You're homeless.
they're multiplying. You're making no payments. Nobody. Your credit will go down, but with all your best credit, bank will never lend you a penny anyway. So what's your credit good for? Forget about it.
He
Buy
says
gold.
hoard
Buy
cash.
gold.
Is this
Hoard
banking on
cash.
America dying?
Obviously,
This
if that's
philosophy?
what you're about to do, then max your credit lines, credit cards, anything what you have, just keep them until that level and don't pay a penny.
Michael,
Don't
what
pay
was your
nothing.
question? I didn't hear it. Michael, you had a question or an observation. I didn't hear it.
I was just
He's startled.
I was just wondering how much you have for lawyer fees. I couldn't imagine
Zero.
not paying anything
Absolutely
and just saving
zero.
cash.
First of all, okay, you
Like, 'cause
use
a lot of-
lawyers only if necessary.
So a lot of
And then you pay them later in 10 years when you will be better off financially. Then you pay the lawyers.
well, who
Don't pay
pays
anything
the
to
landlord
anybody.
though?
It doesn't apply to you though.
No,
Okay, so
every time I hear when
landlord-
I don't get paid,
Well-
I'm kind of like out. You know. So the thing is,
Oh.
you were doing good, Sash, until you say you don't pay the
Is that
lawyer.
true? Okay.
You know, but if you said, okay, then you get to pay the lawyer, he'll stop everything right there, buddy. We'll hold him up in court for the next decade.
But later, you see, at the beginning, you see, these people I would
feel it.
estimate 6 to 9 months, there will be nothing but letters, maybe occasional phone calls. Now they will start some legal actions, especially now with coronavirus, probably a year and a half from now. So a year and a half from now, take a lawyer and ask him only to write them a letter, to return letters. No actions, no statement of defense.
course not.
Absolutely not. Just letters here and there, and not to rush next day when they will send you a letter. Don't reply next day. Reply in a month and a half, maybe, or whatever. They have to value a lot of your time and resources. So you hire a lawyer. Oh, he hired the lawyer. Oh, we have to really work on that file. So they will hire their own lawyers. So the lawyers will have fun for a while. It will take you probably 2.5, 3 years before you would have to worry about something. Maybe you have to pay somebody or so.
Okay,
How
don't
much
try
money?
this at home.
How
Don't
much
try
money
this
is
at
3
home.
years of litigation?
Well,
Yeah, I'm trying to think through it.
See, the thing is, I guess in a leasehold interest, if you're renting, they can file a notice of eviction. If you're a mortgage holder and you own your property, that's a longer period of time to actually do a foreclosure. They ain't going to happen overnight, you know. And
And a
is it 2
homeowner
years?
might have the capital for 3 years of litigation.
Yeah,
It's 2
and
years.
yeah, it's
In the meantime,
going
for
to take
2
some
years,
time.
you live absolutely free. So you first of all,
Live free.
Okay, first of all, you have to max your mortgage. Let's see if your
Look, Jim is right up there with you taking notes.
Hey,
Okay,
Sasha,
let's see
I think
your
I'm gonna have to.
See, I'm a younger guy, and this just sounds crazy to me. I don't own my own home, and
No.
wow, I couldn't even imagine. Like, just
Okay, if your
stop paying
property
everything,
is-
save your money.
Absolutely.
So it's like 2 years of
Don't try
litigation at
this at home.
$1,000 a month.
But
You have
wait
roughly
a moment.
$2,500.
First, don't
Is
take my word
$2,500
out
gonna
of context.
Be
Okay,
2
here's
years worth
what
of
you do.
litigation to save me.
Here's a program.
Save
The
my butt.
program is very simple. Let's say your property is worth $500,000, right? Get your mortgage to a level of $490,000. So try maximize it as much as you can. Prove that your property went much higher in prices in last year and a half. So get to $490 in mortgages. Your cards, you've got all kinds of cards, your credit was good or so on. Run them to extremes. Get as many cards as possible. Increase your limit. Make some purchases and pay it back right away. They will increase your credits to max. And then, only then, you max your credit. You take cash advances. You buy whatever you need to buy. And that's it. And then you stop everything, mortgages, car payments, everything, and you start accumulating cash. And ignore for a year and a half, ignore all these notices that you are late in mortgage payments. The first 3 months, they won't even send you a letter. Only after 3 months, they will send you a letter. Then another month, you reply, I'm sorry. Don't fight them. Just say, I'm so sorry. I was traveling. I had to visit my uncle. I had to go to Australia or New Zealand. I was on a slow boat to China. And that's it. And just go on, and I'll give you 3 years without any skills. In 3 years, you should accumulate nice, sizable amount of cash. And then you will decide, at the worst case scenario, you'll pay them off. 35 cents on the dollar. And your credit will be brilliant because you will send them a letter.
He's saying what in legal terms is then do what they call a cram down, which happens a lot in bankruptcy. Yes. What they do is they actually cram down their creditors, and I do kind of know that play, but you're talking about it, everybody's situation is different. See, I can't go that route because I have too many assets, so they ain't gonna happen.
It's not for everything.
Sasha,
it ain't gonna happen.
I got a question for you because I had a guest on my Monday night podcast, and he wrote a book called "Building a Better World in Your Backyard." Paul Wheaton is his name. I'm trying to get him to come on over here and visit us over here at IBMTV. But he's basically about the whole idea of permaculture and a supporter of minimalist living and things of that nature. So he's definitely got, he's like saying, don't necessarily go to the grocery store and buy your food all the time. Go out there and plant a garden. Don't get the gas guzzling car, but get something a little bit more fuel saving, whether it's an electric car or whether it's whatever. And that he's saying that we have a significant amount of tons that we put on our carbon footprint. So he's got a book that talks about ways that we can cut that carbon footprint. Because even in the conversation I had with him, I was telling him, which makes no sense to me, and it was part of our conversation, was that in the apartment that I live in, I pay a water bill. The water bill company is actually in Florida. I'm in North Carolina. Explain to me why the water bill company is in Florida.
And the water bill is usually pretty expensive here in North Carolina, which really gripes me, at least where I was living. Now I'm in a townhouse, so it's real cheap. But it's still expensive relative to what I want to pay because I don't want to pay anything.
There's a breaking news, and I also want to say a disclaimer that kids don't try this at home. Sasha is a professional. And
That's true.
The breaking news is that Walmart is now requiring customers to wear masks.
Yeah, well, Costco is doing the same thing.
Around the country are requiring masks to go in their stores.
Right. I mean, I just think it makes sense. If you want to, mitigate the coronavirus, just wear a mask. I mean, it's not really.
You got to wear a mask. You definitely have to wear the mask. You have to get that going. But I've even heard, because I know it's breaking news yesterday, that at least one of the teams is not going to have any fans. I think it was the Philadelphia Eagles that have said no fans at all in their football games. So when they're playing on their home, they will not have any fans at all.
See, I think that
shepherd on.
I think that's again a movement too far because fact is that is silly. I agree with Michael.
That's silly.
They could actually
sunlight kills it.
They could actually have a certain amount of fans also inside of a stadium. In other words, it could be done smart. You don't have to go to ground zero. If you just have to reduce the volume of people that are congested together. But the zero-sum game, don't really have to do. And then what you could do is you could also raise the ticket prices. I mean, some people pay astronomical amounts of money to go see those crazy games. You know what they pay to go see the what do they call it, the Super Bowl? They spend $3,000 a ticket, Mark. No,
there's a lot of those things cost a lot of money, and they spent $1 million. I am a big fan, as Jim knows, because he knows that I was rooting and yelling really crazy because there was a sports summer league basketball thing that went on, and my team, the Golden Eagles, won yesterday, so I was very glad about that. But they did it in Columbus, Ohio, and they did it under a bubble, and it was a $2 million prize last year. This year, the prize that the players and a couple of the fans, I'll get like a little small amount of token, like $88 or something like that. But the fans get a little cut as well. But that $2 million was the prize last year. It was $1 million this year because they spent $1 million to clean up the whole facility and to do this whole containing kind of thing. They brought in John Hopkins. They brought up a lot of other things. The last two rounds, the first rounds, they had a few cases. couple of teams got eliminated based on the fact that they had players that tested positive. But by the last 2 rounds, there were no cases at all. So they were actually doing a very good job of keeping it in the bubble and keeping it controlled. I mean, they were doing everything from hosing down the courts to sanitizing the microphones to doing everything else, keeping that 6 feet of distance.
Make our schools safe for the kids?
I'm sorry, what was that, Jim?
How much money would it take to make the schools safe for our kids? If it costs them $1 million for a basketball tournament, what are we talking about? School after school after school.
But I don't think it's the kids; it's the teachers that are having.
You guys
the problem.
have kids in school?
That's a separate subject, Nick. I'm just saying that they've got.
I have grandkids in school. I don't have.
Yeah,
kids.
it's going to take a lot of money to do that. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I know that even here, there's different philosophies that people are using. Like some of the schools are going to go a few days on, a few days off. They'll be half virtual, half in person. I do know that I think in most of the schools here, they're going to require everybody there, from the teachers on down to the janitors, on to the students themselves, to wear masks. How
much money are they going to spend?
That's going to be very interesting to see, and that's going to be a high cost as well. So it's going to be interesting to see, and I know that a lot of the schools are definitely concerned and are doing different philosophies as to how they do it. I really wish that we would come up with some sort of universal plan, because like some sort of plan that would be covered across the bases, because right now we're letting each governor, each state kind of like come up with their own plans, and I think that creates just more of a nightmare.
Hot spots need different procedures.
That's right. No, different places can do different things, and but they should have
a national standard, and then communities can decide.
But we actually used to have a pandemic task force, but was eliminated in 2018 by, I don't know, whoever was the president in 2018. I have no clue. But what I do have a clue for is the IBM told us to stay away from politics. Never directly.
Well,
so that's why
people were reassigned.
We have Lynn here.
The individuals were.
Our sponsor has arrived. Lynn, tell us about what we can do on COVID-19 at the dollar store.
It's good advice.
And I really wish everybody would do this, because we don't want to pass along any viruses through the computer. Don't want anybody to get computer viruses. But yes, so my family owns the Family Dollar Store. It's an online dollar store. The link is family.dollarstore.com. If you go to IBMTV, you can become a customer of the store. And the reason why we're here is we're a sponsor of Money Masters PBS, which is the owner of IBMTV. And we are really, we really love the mission. The mission is to cut the gap between poverty and financial sustainability, and to provide financial education and financial fitness. So how can we do that through the dollar store? Well, number one, we have lots of products that are a lot cheaper than you can buy elsewhere. So the mask that I had on, here's a box, and I know Jim has them too, and I think Nick has them, 50 masks for $25. You can't get that anywhere. These are medical masks. So they're three layers. They're 95% efficient. They're right up there with N95 masks. And why not get them at 50 cents a mask? But then I can ask Jim to really do the math, because we have a rewards program. And with the rewards program, just for signing up to become a customer, you get $5 worth of gift tokens, which are like getting a gift card. So you get free shipping for an order of $25. And in fact, you order this for $25, then you apply your gift tokens, really cost you $20. So we just reduced the cost of the mask from 50 cents a mask to, I can't do the calculation, but I know Jim can. But anyway, so we have lots of stuff on the site like that. If you're into some of the products the ladies are, such as getting rid of the lines on your face, which I don't care about, and I don't think any of the other 4 gentlemen who are here today, or 5, I guess, of us, we don't care about getting rid of the of the lines on our face, but we have one product that's identical to what's on Amazon. Costs Amazon, if you want to buy it on Amazon, $67 plus $4 of shipping, and we have it on our site for $4.99. So why do you want to spend more money? Because if you're paying attention to what Money Masters is teaching you, you should be saving money. And what a great way to save money. As Nick would like to tell you, a lot of the things that make the millionaires different from the rest of the people is they do use the discounts they can get. They do use the gift cards. They do save the money. And then when they save the money, what do? They invest it. And when they invest it, they make more money. Sasha can talk about investing. And then, of course, the other thing that we want to do is we want to pay forward. So that's the great thing about our dollar store. If you shop on our dollar store, you save money. You don't have to go out. You don't have to risk getting yourself exposed to the coronavirus. You don't have to pay for gas. Time is money. So you have the opportunity to do something I've done, which is since I got quarantined here, I've actually started 2 new businesses. And you can help support the mission of Money Masters, which is basically to cut the gap between poverty and financial sustainability. So shop, shop, shop. We even have things that I know if Kimberly were here, she loves. We have Minion napkins. I mean, who wouldn't want to have some Minion napkins? But then, since I'm doing my show and tell, if I can find it, and I can't, but somewhere around here, well, I can't find it. Jim will find it. We have our CBD patches, which also have lidocaine in it. Now, when Jim decides that he's going to play chess with Sasha, he knows that in advance, because Kimberly has advised this, when you know you're going to have pain, you put your patch on early before you have the pain. So Jim will put it on his head because he knows he's going to have pain playing chess with Sasha. But then both Jim and Sasha should also be putting it on their arms because, you know, moving those chess players, those chess pieces is really painful. So, you know, if you get tendinitis. Anyway, I think I've covered most of it. We can deliver to all 50 states here in the United States. A couple of other things. For those who become customers during the month of July, we're going to give you 50 extra gift tokens, which amounts to another $5 worth of gift tokens that you're going to have. If you bring somebody else on and you notify IBMTV that you're bringing them on, then we will give you another $5 worth of gift tokens, okay? And they will, of course, get $5 for signing up. Through the end of August, we're giving 100% of our profit to IBMTV. So I really encourage people to become customers, to sign up, to start buying, have it shipped right directly to your home. If you live in Bernathen, Pennsylvania, like I do, we have no shipping or no postal delivery service. So to get my Minion napkins, and I couldn't wait because I needed to have them because I need to feel I'm part of the club. Okay, then I had to go to the post office, which I did on Monday. I picked up my Minion napkins, and now I'm part of the club because I know that Mark has them, Jim has them, Kimberly has them. I don't know whether Nick has them yet, but
I have something else though that's very important. I'll show you what it is. I got it for the grandkids. They
Here
love
it goes.
these things. These are like
As my wife, she loves your
okay. My
coconut
grandkids
soap.
love these little bracelets they put on, and they like glow. Okay, I mean, totally familiar with that. So,
Well, Lynn, can you ship to Arkansas?
is that a part of the United States? Remember, they only ship in the United
Wait a
States.
minute. Arkansas.
Yeah.
Can I look at a map?
Hmm.
Yeah,
I have to see whether it works.
Let's see if it's here.
Sorry, Michael. We take shots at each other on this show.
It's part of the United States, right?
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
think so. Yep.
I like a polar globe, baby. I got the
Hey,
globe.
Jim and Nick, that just reminded me. You asked me what the show was going to be out on this Monday. I've got a gentleman that does this thing called the bump experiment, and that's actually what he wants us to do. Is he wants us to go around and be kind and nice to each other, because he's going to be my guest, because he's running around. He's got these bracelets that say bump, and he's got these other things going on. He's from here in North Carolina. Somebody did something really nice for him, and so he's trying to like create a movement of kindness. So he's going to be talking about this movement of kindness that he's got going on. I think I've also got some comedians that might not be as kind as he would like them to be, and some other guests as well that I'm talking to, including some activist types. So, but the primary one that I know will be on this Monday is the gentleman that is all part of the bump experiment that he is launching, which is all about trying to be kind and spread this word of kindness and everything because of something that somebody did for him. So I'm looking forward to hearing what the person did for him that got him inspired to do this.
You're right,
That's what his message will be.
I will try, but you're taking away my strength there. But I will try.
No, he said kindness, Jim. He didn't say chess players like to drive people in the ground and claim victory. He said kindness.
It's counterintuitive to me, but I'll get my head around it.
You're going to have to really take your chess hat off. I mean, when you play chess, I don't think it's the whole idea is to be kind. He said, I just dropped my queen. No problem. Take the move
Take it
back.
back.
I played a horrible game. No problem. I'll resign anyway. Come on, Jim. Come on. He's talking kindness.
I can work on it, Mark.
You're going to have to work on it.
So I'm going to be kind. We're going to figure out how to deliver to Canada, because Sasha can get something. But what here's what I've heard. I've heard Canada basically has shut down again, and
until August 21st.
August 21st.
Yeah.
Nick, not only they shut down, but I was watching yesterday. I actually watched your prime minister, and the prime minister basically said, all you folks in America, y'all got a lot of that stuff going on, so y'all stay away from us. We don't want y'all. We don't want y'all coming up here. We don't want y'all at all. He basically came out and said that. And I was like, whoa. Wow. He's like, no, y'all got too much of it down there, so y'all stay away.
Hey,
right. Mexico's going to pay for the wall to keep us out.
Mexico, we're going to gladly pay for the wall, and nobody can come in. We're going to shut it down.
Yeah, we're providing around the world now.
So I was hoping to be able to go to Toronto because my daughter lives in Toronto, but they're coming back at the end of in December when their 3-year stint in Toronto is over. Because I really want to go up and meet Sasha. And be able to at least social distance with them. And so my daughter said to me, Dad, don't take this personally, but I want my son to come there first. And if he's the only one who's able to make it, tough, we'll see you when we come home. But I really would like to go. I just don't want to be stuck at the Border Patrol, have them stop me for 4 months while I'm in New York trying to get across the bridge to get into Canada to see Sasha. So, Sasha, I may have to make a special trip up there to see you one of these days.
Well, maybe we can meet in the middle of the bridge. So.
They're used to that in Russia. Let's meet in the middle of Berlin. You go on one side of the wall, I'll be on the other side of the wall, and we'll say hello to each other.
We can talk over the wall. Yeah.
We'll talk over the wall. Now we can do that on the bridge in Canada, So Sasha knows ways around stuff like this. He's
Leave it to Sasha. We'll figure it out.
What I think we need to do is we just need to create a game, and we'll put the game right there in the middle of the bridge, and then Lynn and Sasha can play a game right there in the middle of the bridge.
There we go. You can play in the middle.
We'll jump right into Niagara Falls from the bridge.
Okay. This is it. I'll play. You can even choose the colors. I'll play on the American side. You play on the Canadian side.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Yeah, well, most of the bridges you can't even see the falls.
Oh, that's
so,
true.
which is,
it's a little bit farther from the falls, but it's just walking distance. So
yeah, I know it is walking distance.
Yeah.
It's really created a big down on international travel. Delta announced they're cutting their flights in half. So the thing is, they're just not flying. And every time I look about flying internationally, I go, I don't know if I can go out because I don't know if I can get back. I don't even know if I can go out. The flights, I mean, you get some great deals out there right now. I forgot what country I was looking at. It was only 890 round trip. It was into Copenhagen because I wanted to go up to Copenhagen, 890 round trip. But I don't know if I can leave. I don't know if I can come back.
Yeah, but
So
don't
I'm
forget
thinking
that the European Union is not accepting U.S.
I know. That's
know,
the
right,
problem.
yeah.
Canada is accepted in the European Union. So to remain our status, we had to close the border with U.S.
Right.
Otherwise, you will not make it.
Right. Sasha, you like Copenhagen?
It's fantastic city.
Fantastic, right? Okay.
It's just fantastic city.
Yeah. Well, I can fly all these places for free, but I can't go anywhere. So I'm sitting here stuck. So the only place I'm thinking about is maybe go to the mountains in North Carolina, hang out there for a while. But it's really put a damper on my idea of a lifestyle, which
You
is.
don't want to go to visit Rushmore, man?
No, I do want to go back to Russia, but when I went, the relationships were pretty good. We had a great time in St. Petersburg. We want to go back to St. Petersburg and maybe go see Moscow.
That's on my bucket list.
But the political climate right now is so negative. In other words, in the U.S., anything from Russia is like, oh, you're going to take over our country. It's elections, blah, blah, blah.
First of all, to begin your trip to Russia, you have to apply for a visa.
Yeah, right. I got a visa.
Probably $600 and probably 2 months waiting. And they will ask you, they will interrogate you and ask all kinds of questions.
I know. I've been through that. I did that to go to St. Petersburg. And I spent 10 days in St. Petersburg. So it was a really nice experience. 10 days in St. Petersburg at the Petro Palace Hotel.
Beautiful places, agreed.
Beautiful place. St. Petersburg, Russia, one of the top places in the world to visit, and, I imagine the people who live there like it, but what a beautiful city. And and I want to go back because they have the Hermitage, the St. Peter's Paul. They have all these cathedrals. It's just a great city. And yet the problem is between coronavirus and the government's going like that. It's hard to get out, and go there. And I want to go see Moscow. I've seen a lot of great things on Moscow. Yes. Some of the people there are absolutely beautiful and stunning. Yes. But we just, over here, we demonize them. It's like, oh, you're Russian. You just fell out of, the clouds of hell or something like that. It's ridiculous. And so the thing is, people are
stupid, eh?
No, but okay, let me tell you something. It's nothing to do with Moscow beauty or Leningrad situation or St. Petersburg. It doesn't matter how you call it. The problem is that the Russian elite, they are very much indoctrinated by the war between West and East. Right. They're considering themselves part of Eurasian continent, and it's an inward-looking model, unlike Western society, especially all the U.S., England, and they call them sea powers.
Right.
So the sea powers, they want to conquer all the world, and they don't care about improving life of the countries for their invading. They're just interested on the shoreline, extract all the resources and everything what's worth in those countries, and use it for their own people and their own governments and so on. So they're trying to rob the rest of the world. Whereas
that really doesn't work for me because I like to play golf, I like to play tennis, I like to be a tourist, I like to go to museums.
Now they believe in the of anti-sea
Can you give some examples of these?
Continental powers. Continental powers, it's Russia, it's China. Somehow they put Germany into that camp as well. That's very questionable, but they have some theories. I know some of them. They put Germany into it, or so. So these continental powers are supposed to fight with the sea powers, and at the end of the day, the continental powers will defeat sea powers, and everything. If that's a doctrine, and that's how they think. They're doing everything to undermine sea powers, of course, United States. What they're doing now, they come about 10 years ago, they want to replace dollar as a currency, reserve currency. So they're now doing all kind of agreements with China, with India, with somebody else. transact all transactions between themselves in some kind of local currency. They're working extremely hard on that. They're not successful at all, and I'm not sure that they will be ever successful. But they're working very, very.
Okay, so the power mongers are powering while I'm trying to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about vacation, Vivian Liu has joined us from Los Angeles. Did a great job on Shandu, which is on the list to go to. She really has some great food there. But I'm wondering, I mean, the food there was awesome.
That's a little town in China, right?
Yeah, a little town Shandu, which has 16 million people and has pandas and great food, great skyline. But who are we doing this week? What are we looking at this week, Vivian, on China?
I don't know. I don't know if
Can't hear her.
It looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Vivian, your microphone. Actually, she froze up. Okay, now she's back.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you. Right.
Okay, great. I don't know if you guys have heard of the city before, Xi'an.
Xi'an? Okay, you know about it?
Oh,
you know?
No. Talk to us about Xi'an.
No.
Oh, sorry. She doesn't know me well enough. I don't know.
Xi'an. Okay, tell us a little bit about Xi'an. What do you got? Oh, she froze up.
All right.
Oh, she's back.
It's a little bandwidth issue. It's okay. We'll deal with it.
That's all right. We dealt with it last time.
Yeah, for those who don't know Vivian, she actually does our Chinese channel, and we're learning more about what's going on. We found
How do you spell that city, Vivian? How do you spell it?
living in LA? What? Yeah, we got to Google it. How do you spell the name of the city?
XI.
I'm having tons of difficulties too, but
I-N. Okay.
it was great talking with you guys, and I guess I'm gonna.
Okay,
Yeah.
Michael. Thank
Okay,
you for joining us.
Thank you.
Sorry that we were so
All right, Michael.
obnoxious.
Right.
Nice meeting you, Michael.
All right. Let's see. Xi'an.
Okay. It's a large city and capital of Shanxi province in central China. That's what I got. That's what I got on the city.
Yeah.
You tell me
Yeah,
more.
actually, I have. Yeah. I need to share my screen because I made a PowerPoint
Oh, okay.
and I have a lot of points to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, okay.
I can fill in the gap with the rest of Google.
A population of 12 million people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
12 million.
Can you guys see the screen?
We will now.
Now.
There we go.
Almost.
Okay. Okay.
We got
Great.
our banner up there.
Right.
Okay.
There we
Oh,
go.
there we go.
There we go.
So Xi'an, located
Beautiful city.
in the middle of the fertile Guangzhong Plain, with Weihe River in the north and Chenling Mountains in the south, is one of the birthplaces of Chinese civilization and the cradle of the Chinese nation.
Wow.
Yeah, it is one of the 4 famous ancient capitals in the world and ranks first among the ancient capitals of China, as it was used as a capital for the longest time in China's history. It served as a capital for the largest number of dynasties. The exact number is 13. And it was the most influential capital. Xi'an was once China's political, economic, and cultural center, and the first city to open to the outside world. The famed Silk Road starts from here in the east, and Chinese silk, tea, and China spread across the world through the Great Road since its opening during the Western Han Dynasty, which is 202 BC to 8 AD, which is a really long time ago.
Wow.
Also, can you see the right picture? It's one of the 8 wonders of the world, Qin Shi Huang's Terracotta Warriors Army. So it stands right in the Lingtong district of Xi'an. It's really, I think I don't need to introduce a lot about it because it's really a wonder, and I think everybody knows about it.
Yes.
All right?
Yes, Terracotta Warrior.
And-
We're familiar with it. I didn't know it was in Xi'an. I didn't know where it was.
Yeah.
Some of our movies. Yes.
Xi'an.
Yeah.
So nowadays, over 10 million permanent residents live in this area, and Xi'an continues to attract more people because this amazing city becomes better with each passing day. Xi'an is home to a lot of historical sites. It was named as a world famous historical city by UNESCO as early as 1981. It really has a lot to offer visitors. Uh, the Terracotta Warriors and Horses Museum surely needs no introduction. No one misses the world on site on their Xi'an trips. Tourists can easily spend a couple of hours marveling at the over 8,000 life-size clay soldiers and taking in the fascinating history. Then I want to talk about the Ming Dynasty City Hall. As you can see the picture, which is like,
amazing.
see, you can see the City Hall is like from ancient time, and from the back there is a high building which is so modernized. The Ming Dynasty, built more than 600 years ago, is the largest and most complete surviving city hall in China right now. The best way to explore the city hall, the city wall, is to make the round of it on bicycle. If you get to Xi'an by normal train, you will see the wall towering in front of you as you exit from the train station.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys know about this or not. The classical Chinese novel Journey to the West is based on the experience of Master Monk Xuanzang, who went on pilgrimage to India for Buddhist scriptures in the Tang Dynasty. After he get back to Chang'an, Chang'an was the ancient name of Xi'an. Big White Goose Pagoda was built to preserve the Buddhist sutras and statues he brought back. Visitors can climb to the top of the pagoda to have some spectacular views of the city. And then is another touristic places.
Wow.
Xi'an Bear Tower.
Amazing.
Yeah, the Bear Tower was built in 1381
Wow.
by Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang as a way to dominate the surrounding countryside and provide early warning of attack by rival rulers. It is a stately traditional building that marks the geographical center of the ancient capital. From this important landmark extend east, south, west, and north streets, connecting the tower to the east, south, west, and north gates of the city wall of the Ming Dynasty. The wooden tower, which is the largest and best preserved of its kind in China, is 36 meters high. It stands on a bridge base 35.5 meters long and 8.6 meters high on each side. During the Ming Dynasty, Xi'an was an important military town in northwest China, a fact that is reflected in size and historical significance.
Vivian, if I may interrupt you for just a moment, I know it's rude, but it looks fortified to me. It looks like it was protected. That lower structure looks like it's a wall to keep people out from attacking the bell tower. Is that correct, or am I making that up in my mind?
Yeah, I think so. And also, you see there is a tunnel in the shop building, because the building is in the center of Xi'an, but nowadays there are a lot of cars
Oh, yeah.
a lot of transportation, so they made this as a tunnel.
Ah, I see.
And also
Okay,
to
go ahead.
protect the building.
Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
It's okay, all good. And then this is the everlasting sorrow shoe. The beauty of the Huaqing Pool impresses visitors a lot in the daytime. At night, a large-scale, real-thing historical drama named The Song of Everlasting Sorrow is presented here to better feast the visitors' eyes. The drama relates a moving romance between Emperor Xuanzong of the Tang Dynasty and Yang Yuhuan, his favorite emperor concubine. more than 1,000 years ago, it was at Huachingpu that their romantic story evolved. The song of everlasting sorrow shoe is presented on the real scene in Huaqing Hot Spring with the backdrop of Lishan Mountain and the ponds, pavilions, corridors, and palaces in the background. The performances are real sing and dancing historical dramas with dazzling lights, beautiful music and songs, lavish costumes, and the grand stage, which is partially submerged in the water. Later, I'll put a video about this show so you guys can have a look of how
Okay.
grand and definite it is.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And then I want to talk about Shi, also known as Chinese shadow puppet shoe. It's a traditional folk art which traces back to Western Han Dynasty, which is 206 BC to 25 AD, with puppet silhouette made out of cow's leather and donkey hide. The shadow shoe figures of the Guangzhou area of Shanxi province are most represented in China. They were modeled after the stone relief patterns that origin in the Han Dynasty. The academic style painting of the Song Dynasty and folk paper cuts can also be found here. Today, Guangzhou play figures are popular with collectors as home decorations. Most tourists who visit Xi'an, Shanxi are willing to buy them as souvenirs, as you can see from the picture, which is really beautiful. The figure of a shadow puppet are
Oh, she froze up.
Yeah.
At least right now. But wow,
Figures
what?
of the shadow puppets are. Mark, why don't you fill in the sentence? Oh, go ahead.
Well, she's back.
Is she back?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's back. Yeah, you're back. Vivian.
okay. So I'll continue. Sorry.
Right.
Their designs follow traditional moral evaluation, and the audience can tell a figure's character by seeing their mask. Like the masks in Beijing Opera, a red mask represents upness, a black mask represents fidelity, and the white one is linked to treachery. The positive shadow figure has long, narrow eyes, a small mouth, and a straight bridge on their nose. The negative one has small eyes, a protruding forehead, and saggy mouth.
Mhm.
And every time I introduce food,
Whoa.
okay. So this city was home to various religions during the Tang Dynasty, and the range of cultures have helped to shape Xi'an cuisine, with Islamic influence being particularly strong. The city's Muslim quarter has become food heaven for locals and tourists alike. I want to introduce 4 famous dishes in Xi'an that I would highly recommend.
Okay, good.
If one dish could represent Xi'an, locals would tell you it'd be without doubt Yangzhou Paomo. Yangzhou Paomo is the left picture, as you can see. It's aromatic, tasty, and spicy bowl of shredded flatbread soaked in mutton broth. Eating a paomo is a uniquely relaxing exercise, and here's the right way to do it. To start with, you'll be served with 2 pieces of unleavened flatbread, or more in Chinese, in a bowl. It's now your job to tear the bread into pieces as small as soybeans and then put it in the bowl. The process is, it takes time, but the locals believe no more tastes better with, your hand pulled. The stew will be topped with slices of lamb or beef of your choices, and like what every local would do, pickled sweet garlic is added to complete the dish. And the right picture is also famous, known as Rojamo, also known as Xi'an meat burger. It's like a hamburger, but with a much longer history. There are just 2 critical elements for Rojamo: baked leavened bread and shredded braised meat. A good jamo should be baked using a traditional furnace instead of an electronic oven. Meat, usually a mixture of fat and lean pork that has been braised for hours, Also should be hand shredded and pocketed in the bread. There is also a choice for only lean meat pork jamu, a little chewier than the usual ones. The best jamu can be found in the Muslim quarter where the filling is either lamb or beef. One of the most recommended entries is called Wang Kui Laji jamu in Xi'an.
And Mark, you should do this because you're drooling.
Yes, I know. It's too much.
Go ahead, Vivian. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. And then, as you can see, the left picture is biang biang mian, biang biang noodles. Biang biang noodles are the most famous noodles in Xi'an because of their unique name and also its unique taste. Biang is the most complex Chinese character with 58 strokes. The word mimics the sound of flour dough hitting the counter when being stretched. The noodles, named one of the 10 strange wonders of Shanxi, are described as thick and wide as a belt. They are also very long. One noodle can easily fill up the whole bowl. Noodle is very savory and chewy thanks to the eggs and oil added to the flour dough. The most common biang biang noodles are often served with vinegar and topped with a lot of red hot peppers, diced garlic, and boiled baby bok choy. Heated oil will be added before serving. A fancier version would be topped with braised meats and assorted vegetables.
How hot is the hot pepper? How hot?
It's really hot. Like
Yeah.
if you can eat spicy Chinese food, if you guys go to visit Xi'an and order this dish, you need to tell the waitress that
Okay.
the least spicy.
Uh-huh.
So how many cups of water or iced tea do you think I'm going to need? Because I'm a big iced tea drinker.
A lot of yeah, right. It's really spicy. And the right picture is called liang pi, also known as cold noodles. Cold noodles are made by cooking.
So we take the cool noodles right after the hot peppers. That would be my.
That's what we got to do.
But also the cold noodles are spicy too.
Oh no!
Double spicy, Jim.
Yeah.
We're in deep trouble.
Yeah.
I'm going to need 10 cups of iced tea. I'm going to need at least 10.
I gotta drink water now. Just looking at it.
Yeah, but it's really tasty. It's worth a try.
Okay.
So, see, the most basic way to serve cold noodles is drizzled with a sauce of chili oil, pepper powder, vinegar, and diced garlic topped with bean sprouts and sliced cucumber. The taste is spicy and texture is silky.
Oh.
So that's basically my introduction, and welcome to Xi'an anytime. Look at the pictures. It's really, beautiful.
That was just great, Vivian.
That was very good.
Thank
Now I
you.
want to go to that country. I know that my
I just
both
wrote
of
it
my
down on
parents,
my
I know
bucket
at least
list. I gotta
one,
get
but I think it might have been both of them have visited China. I might have to ask them whether they went to that city because I don't remember where they went. Or like I said, I can't remember whether it was both dad and mom or just one or the other. But I know that they definitely have some. At least one of my parents went, if not both of them. I need to double check with them to find out what that case was. But I know they thoroughly enjoyed the trip when they were there, and I think they might even want to go back if they can, whenever we can go back. And I know that's on my wish list of places to visit is China, just because of y'all's rich culture. And here in North Carolina, I wish Nick was still here, but in North Carolina, in Cary, every year there is a Chinese New Year celebration, and I've been wanting to go to that for years, and I actually went to it earlier this year. So they did the juggling and they did the whole kind of like Chinese New Year's celebration, and it was just amazing. Also seeing the artwork that they designed with the different pandas and the different things of that nature, because I am a big fan of the panda bear and other animals that come out of China. So definitely it's on my
Who
wish list.
doesn't like panda bears? Come on. Yeah, they're so cute and cuddly.
So Vivian, look, one question, Vivian. The name China that we call the country, does that come from Xi'an, or does it come from
Great question.
one of the dynasties?
You mean the name China?
Name China, yes. Because Xi'an is very close. I mean, you can see if you add an N to it, you would say Xi'ana or China, okay? Or does it come from, because I was looking up the dynasties while you were talking, and there was a Chang dynasty. So did the name China come from Xi'an, or did it come from one of the dynasties?
What a great question.
Actually, it comes from the first name. It appears is in Qing Dynasty, because back in Qing Dynasty, this is the first time that he made the small countries into a one big country, China.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, and also the Qing Dynasty has the Terracotta warriors, as you can see from the picture that I showed. Yeah.
It says it's basically central state or middle kingdom. So yeah, you're right on, Lynn.
Yeah.
Well,
And now,
go ahead.
I was going to say.
You talk first.
Thank you. I'm sorry because I'm talking too much, but I do think that I was wondering, is China's borders closed to U.S. citizens? Can we go visit now, or what's the status of? Can I go to your city now, today?
I'm not sure, but I think it's hard because
Because we can't go to Europe now. We can't go to Copenhagen. We can't go to Canada. We can't go to Toronto.
Yeah, a lot of countries are closing borders for U.S. because of the increasing cases of COVID-19.
Right.
So I think in China the same, because there are a lot of people in China. If someone brought the virus again to China, and then it will cause severe situations. So
right.
I think it's hard. It's hard for American citizens to travel in China right now. Yeah.
And Lynn, did you have another question? I interrupted you, or?
No, I was thinking about that, and I think I heard Nick say that apparently the Mexicans are going to build the wall to keep us out of Mexico.
That's right.
So yeah, I understand that.
They will finally pay for the wall, like we were promised.
Finally going to pay for the wall. I do have a question for Vivian, and I don't know if she knows the answers, and I know we try to stay away from certain topics, but I'm just curious. Because I remember a lot of people, even here in like the civil rights movement, had a great deal of respect in some ways, not always, but in some ways for Mao. And I was just wondering, what do people think of Mao now in terms of China? Is he still seen as a hero of the country, or is he not seen as a hero, or how is he viewed in China?
Great question.
We viewed him as a hero, but not everyone is perfect because we are not Jesus. So he made mistakes. But he
did so much for the country that basically you think of him as a flawed hero.
Yeah, we can't deny his, contributions.
Right.
But everyone made mistakes, so.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right. We'll admit that he made a mistake too.
I hold on to that. That's why I keep going every day, because I know I've made mistakes, but no one's perfect.
Yeah, that's why.
So your shows always have a food element in them, and they're so good looking. So I think that I really admire you including that portion, as well as the city itself. The visuals were wonderful, but also the food, it just adds a little punch to your presentations. I think that's great.
Yeah, because Chinese food is, really abundant and tasty. Yeah. And
there's so many varieties. I learned something about the Islamic influence on the cuisine. I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Now, I'm just curious, and I know that there are certain animals that are even respected here that are respected in China as well. I think y'all have a great deal of respect for cats, if I remember correctly. But I was just wondering, what are like some unique animals? Because, of course, everybody knows because of the pandas, because of the zoo. But are there any unique animals that might be even unique to China that are kept there as pets that we might not think of as the normal pet, because every culture, every country had its own unique animal. So I would just like to know a little bit about nature there in China, because I'm a big nature lover.
You mean unique pet?
Yeah.
It's really hard to think about at once because we also, the normal pets are just, birds, cats, or dogs. Unique ones. Well, somebody jokes that people from Chengdu, everyone in Chengdu has a unique pet, has a panda, but it's not true.
Yeah.
But
We think that they do, but they don't. Not everyone, of course. There are not enough pandas to go around.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so those are the domesticated animals. But do you have like, for example, we have raccoons and coyotes or coyotes, I guess some people say. We have things that are on the border of our civilized urban situations. And do you have things like that in China, where you have your massive cities? 12 million is the one you had today. And are there animals that are on the peripheral of that society? Because they're wild animals as opposed to domestic.
So kind of like the deer here in North Carolina.
Here.
So we didn't hear your answer, Vivian. You froze up.
Hello? Can you hear?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you now. What kind of wild animals do you have around your cities? Not in them, but around them.
I never digged into it, but I know in northeast of China we have a special tiger there, but in the south, because the weather is different.
True.
In the south, animals are more like cute and not that as wild as in the north. So
because it's a big country, so you have to, when you talk about China, you have to say where in China you're talking about, because your climate could be different, your experience can be different, your vegetation can be completely different.
Yeah. So basically, like I talked about before, Chengdu is in the south of China, so the weather is perfect for pandas. But let's say if we talk about Beijing or Tianjin, then the weather is not suitable for pandas because it's too cold.
Right.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, what is the relationship between, because I know what it used to be historically, but what is the relationship now between, say, China and Taiwan and China and Mongolia to the north? But what's the relationship now between those countries?
We're putting her on a spot and maybe a little bit out of her area of expertise, but
no problem.
Once she gets back on, there you go. You're back.
Okay. So, yeah, I thought this issue we just exclude political questions. Right?
Well said, Vivian.
Because I'm just an international student here. I don't want to cause any trouble to me, like, in the middle of China and US.
Yeah.
So I'm just here to introduce cities, beautiful cities, to all American audience to know more.
And there's such beautiful cities. Like I said, I just love the artwork of China and the amazing artwork. I've actually in the past had some artwork that was from that area. Don't have any right now. Well, I do have my Buddhist tapestry that I need to move from one wall to the other so it can be my backdrop sometime, but I don't have any current real good Chinese artwork, but I need to get some more because I'm a big fan of just the color and the great tune of the artwork. So it's just amazing that what y'all have there. So,
and you were talking about the duration of these dynasties, and we just celebrated our 244th anniversary of the country's birth. And so, I'm just amazed because you're talking about the span of dynasties and these are many dynasties, and only one of them has lasted longer. Any one of them has lasted longer than our entire country's history has. So it puts things in perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, do you want to say the shoe that I talk about?
Sure.
Please.
There's just a little bandwidth problem here, but she's going to come back. There she is.
There she is.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay.
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 I don't want everyone to move to Silicon Valley just because of the bandwidth. We want to get the bandwidth to everybody. Sorry.
Did you do, Jim? We're all moving to your backyard so that we can all have great bandwidth. We're all coming to your house.
You can send your food.
I don't think that deserves a comment.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, Vivian, you're sharing your screen?
She's trying to get the screen together. It hasn't happened yet. While she's doing that, Lynn, you know I've got wish list all the time. I haven't got to the end of the catalog, but I think we need to get some Chinese figurines, like some little pandas and stuff, for the dollar store as well. You can add that to my wish list.
Okay, we'll put that on the wish list. Along with the hammock.
Along with the hammock. And a live panda.
Live panda.
I don't know about
Ooh, that's not going to happen.
that. You can wish away on that one, Mark.
Yeah, that's not going to happen at all. I used to jokingly tell folks while she's getting her screen together that I had a pet that I wanted. It was going to be a pet otter because I was like, I just think that they're really cool animals and they literally look pretty. So I was like, look, but first I got to get a house with a creek so that the otter can have some place to live. But that was on my wish list.
You don't want the otter in your house.
Huh?
You don't want the otter in your house.
No, you not want the otter in the house.
They're delightful animals to watch romp, though. Yeah, so, but the thing is that's why cats and dogs are domesticated, and certain creatures you just cannot domesticate. You cannot have them in your house.
No.
It's not fair to them. It's not fair to us. So.
Yeah, that's very true. And we tried to domesticate some animals that we probably should have domesticated. I'm not sure that I really think ferrets were meant to be in people's houses, but I remember that was a trend several years back, and that trend disappeared real fast.
Now I see a lot of rabbits. People have rabbits in the hut. And I think, if you can take care of them properly, fine.
Apparently Vivian's having a problem with screen share.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, maybe we should get Nick because he's so good at it. Nick is our technician today.
Or is Ankit not with us today?
No, Ankit and Kimberly are both.
Ankit's anniversary. Ankit is celebrating his anniversary. What is it? What anniversary is this for him? The 10th or something like that?
I don't know. I
don't know either.
I know his age, but I don't know his anniversary. So, but he's got the day off. But he did come in and bail us out because we got it off to a rough start because we didn't know how to share screens. We didn't know how to do the banners, and so. But it worked in my advantage because the banner was Chess Without Borders. So,
what time is Sasha's show today? I thought it was.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
1 o'clock, right?
Yes, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Right. Okay.
Because I'm supposed to be on that
from now until 1.
Oh my goodness.
You're okay, Jim. It's you still have 40 minutes.
Yep. Thank you.
What math are you doing? He's got 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. 22 minutes.
I still got time though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was trying to give you extra time.
Yeah, I would have been late. Thanks to you, Lynn. That's what I'll blame you on. I blame it on Lynn.
This is
wait a minute. While she's getting her stuff together with the share screen, Lynn, aren't you the one who's always getting on Jim about math? But you failed the last test this time.
Yeah, I know. You can go after me, Jim, on that one.
Thanks, Mark.
I started my first Zoom meeting this morning at 7, so.
Oh, I know.
I'm a little tired.
It's a 7 o'clock start on IBMTV for me.
Yeah, it is for you. Sure it is. Yeah.
How many Zoom meetings do you have a day, Lynn? I'm thinking with the Family Dollar Store, you must have at least 15 or 20 a day.
Well, it depends, but usually I average anywhere between 4 and 7.
Yeah.
So tonight I have one at 9 o'clock Eastern. I have one at 5. I have one that was canceled for this afternoon.
I love that.
Yeah, the other night I had one at 11. So it just depends.
Yeah, but it can be a long day, and especially when you're on the screen, because I read a study where we actually get fatigued because it's not like meeting face to face, because our brains have to work overtime to translate the pixelated faces, and so the brain works hard to interpret them, the facial expressions that we would normally do easily face to face.
I actually think it's working, Jim, because I think you're good looking now.
And I thought that Lynn was like a world famous. I thought Lynn was like a world famous model now. So it's working for us all because
you guys
I
have
was
been on
waiting for
TV
him
too
to
long.
tell me he's really related to Tom Cruise.
Now you gotta just get that lens cleaners on your glasses, man. I've got one of those around here.
Excuse me, I have one here. I'm gonna clean them off right this minute.
Yeah.
So
lens wipes, guys. Hi, how you doing, Vivian? How you doing?
Vivian just sent us a chat. She says that she's having some problems with her headphones, and she's worrying about I guess whether she's got to go or not. So we might have to carry her for another.
That was a great performance, great presentation. And I don't know if you can hear me, so I'll type it into you. Okay, this is just technical difficulties, and this
amazing show.
This is what we just have to live with. Bye.
Yep.
Thank you.
Amazing show.
That's fabulous. And I would, if she walked into a bar, I would ask her for her ID too.
She is really. How old is Vivian?
She's not old enough to drink in California, I don't think.
So she's like 18, 19, something like that?
I think so. I would guess that, but I'm not sure.
She's wonderful. She really is wonderful. She seems so poised, which is really fantastic. She and Alexandra May are both of them. Because how old's Alexandra? I think she's 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, 24. I think 24 going on 25.
Yeah.
If she walked into a bar, I'd ask her for her ID too.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely, it would. Yeah. So, well, Jim, you've also just gotten younger looking to me because, so I think I'd ask you for your ID.
You're gonna ask for his ID as well, because
I would be so flattered if that happened.
Jim, how old are the other two young folks from South Africa? Because Alexandria brought them on, and I think they might even be younger. Dude and Action Tam, because I think they might be in their early 20s.
They are from South Africa, but I think that was Ankit or somebody else, I think, got them on, but it doesn't matter. But Action Tam and Dude, whose real name was, I can't come up with it. But in any case, they are very, very talented and on the younger side. But, we've gotten to the age where we can't tell people's ages anymore.
No, but I know that they got to be definitely in there. I'm thinking they're in the same age range as Alexandria, somewhere around the 20s or something like that.
Well, they were talking. Well, of course, Alexandra, she started when she was 12. So
right.
Yeah, I mean,
they could be in the business for a long time and still be young.
She had the #1 hit in South Africa when she was 18.
Yeah,
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
and she's so poised. I mean, I've seen her do interviews on her show on Sunday afternoon, and she's fantastic. She really is. But so is Vivian. She shows a lot of maturity, a lot of poise. I wanted to find out, has she ever been to Shan? I mean, because
that's a good question.
I don't know how far, but she acts like she's very familiar with the food. she is at least she familiarized herself enough with what the city's about that it makes you feel as if she's been there, and that's really important. So,
if nothing else, she's done her research.
She sure has.
She's definitely done her research.
Yeah,
no doubt about that. And speaking of folks doing their research, I had to give major kudos to whoever brought up, and I think it was yesterday, Miriam Makaba, because I'm actually familiar with her music, and she is an amazing musician. Like I said, I know they were teasing her about the click song and that being a kind of a #1 hit, but if you ever just go and listen to her music in general, she's got some amazing songs. It is a rich history. She was definitely a world-renowned musician of that culture. So, like I said, if you need to, if you haven't looked her up, look her up, because that click song is a great song, but she's got some other songs that are just truly amazing. She's a definite force in the music world. And
talk about poise. I mean, she really carries herself with a certain amount of elegance, I thought. And that's half the battle. You know, you can have that voice, but the way you present yourself is another thing entirely. And she's got it nailed. So
absolutely, I'm still waiting for somebody to be able to sing like Paul Robeson did when he sang "Old Man River."
Yeah,
you know, I've been trying to do that for years. There's no way I could get that low.
No.
I'm gonna have to see if I can get my friend Herb Illy on. He's a local actor here in the area, and he actually did a play about Paul Robeson. So he can actually get that song, get that tone, and everything else. And he lives here in North Carolina. I think he lives in the town of Murfreesboro still. So I'm gonna see if I can get him on one of my shows or one of our other shows. It doesn't have to be mine.
Good for you,
and
Mark.
see if we can get him to break down that song, because he does a good.
Funkmaster Zach can't get that low. If Zach can't get that low, I know I can't.
No, there's something about it and his voice, the basically the strength of his voice, because as you get lower when you're singing like that,
it reverberates.
But it's harder. It's harder to project. It's sort of like a friend of mine who used to sing in a group here in Philadelphia. Actually, it's the longest in existence men's singing group in the country. They sang for one president, and the president was called Ulysses S. Grant. Well, you know, whoa. So actually, if you looked at some of the members in the group, you would have to say maybe they were actually there for that concert, because some of them are that old. But there was a good friend of mine sang in that group until he developed cancer, and he actually one day, I mean, it's very hard for a tenor to reach high C. I mean, and it requires an enormous amount of effort to do that. And he did. He reached high C, and when he did it, actually, it caused him to get a blood clot in his eye because of the pressure. Which is interesting.
Yeah, because we were talking about the low range, but those opera singers that hit the high range and it just blows my mind.
It definitely blows my mind the way they can do that. But there's a young lady that I had on the podcast Monday night, and she's of a world famous group. You know, a lot of times these folks have multiple people that play one of the roles. So like there are several stylistic groups. There are several groups of that ilk. Just because they break up, they divide, they do things of that nature. And sometimes it might be one person that carries the group, and then they might have the same partner with the same nickname. And I had the fourth Peaches on the show. So Peaches and her is still performing, and she's like in her, I think, 70s, and she is still singing, and that is Patrice Hawthorne. So she was on the show and still carrying notes under her own band. But everybody remembers Peaches and her. I bet you if we're not careful, Jim might break out into Reunited, because he probably remembers that song.
But, you know, Lynn, I want to see if you go back this far. I'm not sure. Barbershop quartets.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Were you? Yeah. And so there was always the guy that was hitting the low notes on a barbershop. Yep.
Well, yeah, I mean, typically in the barbershop quartet, you probably had two tenors, a first and a second tenor, and then a baritone and a bass. And I knew a fellow who sang, and he went nationally. He used to go around the country singing with a barbershop quartet. They would go into competitions. Just a lot of fun. Actually, if you go to I think it's Music Man. They had a barbershop quartet that would sing the song "Light a Rose," if you remember that.
Yeah.
And
my wife's favorite show.
Is it? Yeah. So that was. There are lots of great shows. Unfortunately, we don't see shows like that anymore, which is really sad. But back in the day of Oscar Hammerstein and Richard Rodgers, they wrote some great music for some of the great shows. It's too bad we don't see any of that today.
Yeah, it is a lost art. I don't think barbershop quartets are very popular now either.
Well, I don't know. We'd have to look it up because I do think that they still have competitions.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they're just not published like they were before.
Right. Because they were part of our culture growing up.
So I mean,
I'm going to try something here, folks. I don't know if this is going to work because I'm not the master of doing this that Ankin and them are, but it's not a barbershop quartet, but it's a group of friends of mine that are the Mighty Gospel Inspirations. I'm going to see if we can pull them up and we can listen to them. So I'm going to see if we can pull them up. So this is me trying an experiment. We're going to see if it actually works.
Okay. Mark, you're a professional. You can do it.
Well, the other thing while he's doing that is big band music. Some of the big band music back from the 30s, 40s, and probably early 50s was or the Dorsey Brothers, Benny Goodman. Yeah. In fact, there was somebody on here.
Sharing the screen, so let's see if this actually works.
I got faith in you, Mark.
You got faith in me?
Yeah, the Golden Eagles won, so you're on a roll.
I'm on a roll. We're going to see if this actually works. Hold on a second. I was just on it, so I got to go back to where I was at.
Yeah. I can't help you because, all this IBMTV technology is way beyond my abilities.
I see your clock back there, Jim. Is it still running? Are you still trying to figure out what you're going to do, what your next move is with Sasha?
That's actually an old clock. That's you got to be an old chess player to have a clock like that.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah, because that's digital clock. Now everything is I mean that's an analog clock and everything's digital now.
Digital. Got it. Good.
Okay,
but that's how
one more time. I don't know if it worked that time.
You make your move, you press one of the buttons, the other person's clock starts.
Right. Oh, I remember seeing it. I think isn't that chapter 1 of your book?
Clock.
You have to have the clock.
It's part of the chess equipment. It's in the appendix. You can get it.
Oh,
I'll tell you where to get it. Yeah. All the chess equipment. Nick. The expert.
Hey, listen, Vivian's show made me so hungry. I haven't had breakfast. I haven't had lunch. She's showing this food. I go, okay, I got to go eat like now because I haven't eaten all day. But it was really.
But you didn't have Chinese food, I don't think.
No, I didn't.
Not
actually,
like that.
Actually, maybe Mark, you could recommend a good Chinese restaurant here in the research.
There's some good Chinese restaurants here in the area. Definitely, there's some. Neo China isn't bad. There's a couple of other ones that are really good. There's one that's Eastern Lights or something like that. So there are a couple of ones that you can definitely try that are not that bad and things of that nature. So we're talking about barbershop quartet before you joined us, Nick, and I'm gonna see if I can pull up my friend's gospel group for the second time. And if it doesn't work, then I'm gonna give up since it's almost time for us to get to Sasha. But
Sasha's gonna take over
that.
But you'll see if that works. But
so Nick, if you go to in Durham to where Garrett Road comes out to 15501, I don't know whether it's still there, but there used to be a really good Chinese restaurant on the west side of 15501 there. So I've been there a couple of times.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm just moved up to Raleigh, so I got to fumble my way around here.
Right.
And I still don't know my way around. I was down about 50 miles south in a town called Sanford, just south of it. It's a small rural town, but had a great golf community. And frankly, back to real estate prices, the real estate prices are like 1/3 of what they are here once you move to Raleigh, Durham.
Wow.
And I go,
Wow.
yeah, I was going like, wow, you're spending 3 times as much for the same house. But that's one of the real problems that you have is that then if I want the same house in where Jim is, I got to spend 3 times more.
Three.
Oh, at least.
3.
Oh, at least 3
They
times.
thought when I bought this house for $1.25 million, I was told that I was really overspending, and it's at least tripled
Right.
in 25 years.
Somebody was telling me about a house in LA that was less than 1,000 square feet, and it needed major renovation, and it was selling for $2 million.
Yeah.
Well,
I should show Jim.
Facebook and Google money will take that house, a perfectly good house, and tear it down. They buy your land. They don't buy your house.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because Nick, how much I think that house is over there in not the house, the condo is downtown Durham that's on top of the buildings that are like being used as development. I know that one of the buildings is like a mini grocery store that's downtown, and that condo above, I think that's $1 million condo, and that's in the part of downtown Durham.
It's pretty expensive. Downtown Durham right now is pretty expensive to be. So it's but I should show Jim what you can get in North Carolina for $1.25 million. I mean, he would go, "Why am I living here?"
Well, I'm also thinking of how much it would buy me in South Africa.
Yeah, that's probably the case.
Half the continent.
Lynn, I don't think that house is the condo I'm talking about is on top of a building, but it can't be that much square feet. Nick, what are you thinking? Like maybe 1,000, if that?
Really? Gee.
Huh?
I mean, the real estate prices are just, crazy. I mean, this is what gets me about where Jim lives in San Francisco. It's nutty money to live there.
Our teachers can't live where they work. Our cops can't live where they work. Our firefighters can't live where they work. Right. No one can work in the community these days.
Right. It's just because the real estate prices. San Francisco historically has some of the most expensive real estate prices in the world, and it just doesn't stop. I mean, cheaper to go in New York.
And then if you leave there and you have to drive on one of the freeways, you might as well leave at 4:00 in the morning. And then you find out after about a year of doing that everybody else is leaving at 4 in the morning. So then you say, okay, well, yeah, I know. So,
well, here's the other stat. Like where we live, Mark, in Research Triangle, 0.075%. Not even 1% of the money in startups are available. Not even 1%. They call it Research Triangle, and they tout it. Where he lives in San Francisco, 40% of all the money. I mean, and so I tell the people here, I said, hey, you want to do a startup? I got a good recommendation. Leave.
Yeah.
I cannot drive in any direction without passing a venture capital firm.
Yeah, right. So they have so much bloody money there compared to the North Carolina. North Carolina, dirt poor. San Francisco, dirt rich. You may have to be homeless, but you'll find a lot of money.
You'll find a lot of money on there while you're homeless. Hey, Nick, I know we're going to get Sasha so real quickly, but just real quick, if you can answer it. On my show, one of the people was saying that they thought that they were talking to a filmmaker and a comedian, and they were saying that they thought that they should look into angel investors. What do you think of angel investors?
That's my wife's job.
Yeah, I was going to say good luck. It depends. It always depends on who is the angel investor and what you're doing. I mean, it's a big conversation.
I'll say what
we're not going to be able to do in 1 minute since Sasha's going to come on. Is Sasha coming on this one?
I don't think so. It's another channel, Nick. Then Ankit told us that when he was briefly.
We have to leave this broadcast.
I don't know how it works in IBMTV land. But Mark, on angel investors, they said you invest in 10 companies. 4 of them will fail. 1 of them will succeed, and the other, your wish, will do one or the other. Because the ones that hang around and don't do either are the ones that just drain your money.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it's a tough tough industry. You know, and
Very.
what they're looking for is the unicorn. They're looking for the one that just takes off,
Yep.
makes a lot of money, and just pours
1
out.
out of 10, maybe.
And it's basically 1 out of 10, maybe. And I
But
talked.
the other thing, Nick, is that if you bring in either angel investors or from one of the investment funds, you basically, when you do that, have sold your business.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
their only out is basically to sell your business. So you're saying, okay, I'm willing, I need the money to build my business, but I'm also willing to realize that 4 or 5 years from now, probably not even that long, if I succeed, the business is gone.
Right. Right. No, and
So-
I understand. I mean, I started one time when I first started my second or third company to go look for venture capital,
Yeah.
and realized I could bootstrap a lot faster.
Yeah.
And so I don't have any angel investors. I just own it. Then I made a deal with my current partner, and it worked out quite well. So rather than go after venture money, because then you have to deal with the venture capitalist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically, like you said, you have a boss. You know,
Yeah.
the guy that you just brought on as your quote financial partner. So I think it's a tough game, and maybe in the future we'll bring in some of the venture capital people. They seem to be easier to have on TV. They show up and they'll talk about their deals as opposed to getting the startups who don't show up. You know, and John Fanning was great. He used to be the founder of Napster, and he also owns a venture capital company. So he's a chess player too. So we'll see if we can get him on futures. Well, we probably should go. I would like to end the broadcast with the airplane, but unfortunately, my directors never showed me how to do it. So someday I will learn how to do it. So we're probably just gonna have to end the broadcast. But thank everybody for showing up. And coming up next will be Sasha Starr and his investment show, Investment with Sasha. So tune into that. It's going to be on a different channel, according to Jim, and I hope that's correct because I'm going to end this show right now. And tune into Sasha's investment show. Mark Lee's on Monday. Tune in on Monday, but hopefully we'll be able to see you again tomorrow, Mark, with the podcasters. Okay.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that.
And Lynn, we'll see you also as well. All right. Thanks,
Okay.
guys. All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
See you, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Yep. See you.